Here we go.
On your marks.
And off they go. Look at that sprint into the karts and straight in, and Dab Motorsport get a really good getaway there. There was a few of the karts you could see actually ran really wide to the outside. The number 12 machine of Team Rango with Red Mist had a really good initial getaway, but now they've dropped down to 4th place. Look at the field sweeping nearly 4 wide through the first couple of corners there. Very busy start into turn 2, but what a great start by our pole sitters there, Yousuf. They've absolutely streaked away in the opening stages while everyone else jostles for position. 3rd place battle's probably the hottest right now.
Yeah, the Dab Motorsport driver just jumped straight in, foot right onto the gas pedal, and he was out of there. Everyone else squabbling for 2nd place, which is allowing the leader to pull away. But car 11 is starting to reel in our race leader, and we'll see whether they work together or whether they try to pull through us. We've got a bit of a battle heading down into paddock.
Yeah, that's the Nameless Motorsport entry number 11, and like I said earlier in the grid walk, it is one of the teams that is tipped to be the favourite for this event as well. They've done a purple sector 2 on this lap, of course, as they will do, but they have gone a good couple of tenths faster than everybody else, and into the lead of the race already go Nameless Motorsport. Lovely shot there as they go across the start-finish line. But as I was saying to the teams before, Yousuf, this is the most important hour of the race, really, because it's where the field is most bunched up, and it's where you can gain places in the quickest fashion if you have pace over everyone else.
Absolutely. We very often in racing say you cannot win the race in the first corner, but you can lose it. Well, in endurance racing, if you can get a good start, pull away from all of the fighting, you can pull out a massive lead. We're talking about 30 seconds to about a minute. And now with Nameless at the front, in front of XLRK Brewery, we'll see whether they can work together and pull clear, because they are already about a second clear of everyone else.
Yeah, fantastic initial start. That is really solid stuff by Nameless. And the Accelerate Kent Brewery Racing team were second on the grid and now remain there as well. Where have Dab Motorsport gone? Because that number 5 has disappeared down our timing for some reason. It is showing them in last
30th.
place. It's showing them in last place. I'm not sure if that's because it triggered the timing line before the race went, but they are clearly there in second position, right behind them. So we'll have to hope that updates in time, but I'm sure it will. Guys behind the scenes know what they're doing. But a tidy start, actually. We didn't see any spinners, any major contact or anything in the opening moments, so the wonderful people here at Buckmore Park can be confident in knowing that their karts and their new liveries will be safe for the first couple of moments anyway.
For now,
yeah,
anyway.
Touch wood. The knock on the table.
A relatively clean start. We haven't seen any yellow flags, anything like that. Another thing that was mentioned in the driver's briefing was slowing down under yellows.
Yeah.
The way that the race officials view whether you're speeding under yellows is they look at essentially your average lap time in a sector, and then they compare your sector time under yellow flags to that average. If you're going faster, that's a penalty.
Right, I see. So, you know, they as I said before, there's so many elements to a race like this. That is a phrase that you are all going to get sick of me saying over the next 24 hours, but there are loads and loads of angles you can look at a race like this from, and one of the things to think about is penalties in the long run as well. You know, teams will get penalised if they overdo it on track limits, for example, and obviously if there's contact with other cars and so on. Each incident will get reviewed as it goes on. But you really have to be careful about the tiny details of like individual sectors. Like, we can literally go into those details. People often think wrongly that, you know, karting doesn't go into as much detail as larger motorsport like your GT racing or your touring cars, like I mentioned before. That's very much not the case. If anything, you can be more intricate with this sort of racing.
Absolutely. And I was just going to say, Dab Motorsport are back up onto our timing screen, so we can see them in second. As I just want to keep an eye out for Quadrant, because let's not forget, they started at the back of the grid.
Yep.
They, what did Arif say? They were sandbagging in qualifying, right? Last question mark challenge, so we'll see what that question mark is at the moment. I believe it's currently 29th. So
it's going well.
But they're getting one place, so not too shabby.
4 minutes in, one place gain. Standard here at the office, that. To be fair, I usually lose a place or two when I'm sim racing. But there we go. Great. There's a gap there in the middle of the pack, actually. I think that's from... it looks like it's about 7th place down to 8th, and that's actually Ditch Finders, who are the leaders at the moment in what's known as the rookie class. We have the 2 different colour differentiators on the left-hand side of your screen. They are the blue number plates for the pro class, and then I believe it's called the rookie class anyway, is the black number plates. And, interestingly enough, at the 6-hour mark, all of the performances of each team that are in either of those classes will be reassessed, and we may see some sort of reassignment of those teams, might we?
Yeah, again, something else that was mentioned in the briefing by Clinton Bell, that if any drivers or any of those rookie teams are looking too quick, we might get to about 6,000, they'll get bumped up to the higher category. You also talked about penalties as well. So the way that the penalties works for this Buckmore 24 hours is if drivers get 3 penalties, whether that is for track limits or whether that is for contact, those two are kept separate. Once they hit the magic number 3, they'll be given a penalty. But we also have the magic number of 3 hours. Once you get to 3 hours in the race, your slate is wiped clean and you can start afresh.
It's good to know for the teams that as well. And the thing is, if you're strategic enough about it, you can play to that, can't you? You can get right up to the limit in that time period.
So you say that, someone in the driver's briefing did say, so can I use up all of those penalties in the final 10 minutes? And, well, the answer...
save them all.
Yeah, and the answer was yes, and then Clinton said, watch out for that team, because they're going to be killing you all at every 3-hour interval.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, as soon as you know what the time is going to be, you know, it's like the last day of school, isn't it? You know, you've got the last 5 hours, last 5
you can't
minutes.
Get given a detention if there's, you know, no other day.
Exactly. There's only 5 minutes at the end of each hour. It's just going to go a little bit bonkers, and then it'll all chill out again after that. It's probably going to be the same up here in the commentary box as well, to be fair. Like I say, we've got Kieran and Reeve joining us later on over the course of the day, and we've got the wonderful James Fitzhugh on directing duties as well today, who is very neatly placed to my left so we can make intense eye contact for 24 hours. It's going to be fantastic. We've got fastest lap of the race from the 4th place team at the moment. The only way is Brentwood. I can guarantee you that it's definitely not, but it's 49.062 at the minute. Nobody breaking into the 48s, but we all know that that's going to tumble very quickly, don't we?
Absolutely, as the track continues to dry. Don't forget it was wet earlier on today, so while some of that moisture in the tarmac has been dispersed, we do still need to wait for a bit more rubber to be laid down. The track will get quick, and sometimes, actually quite often, we see the track getting quicker once we get into the evening hours and the temperatures drop down a little bit. It is, though, the first time someone other than the top 2 have set a fast lap of the race, with Nameless and Dab Motorsport now 2 seconds clear of the rest of our pro teams, if you would like to say. 2 seconds now between the top 2 and the rest, and those top 2 look to be working together. Dab Motorsport not looking to do anything crazy. They know it's a long race. Just work with Nameless and try to pull away from the rest of the field.
Yeah, that's the thing. You know, in a long race like this, you have to sometimes think about the bigger picture. I mean, you've seen it a lot, Yousuf, in karting. There's often the signal of just tapping the helmet to say to people, look, don't try and overtake me, let's work together to catch the cart in front. You know, slipstream is important in karting. You know, they're very small little machines. You can bump draft each other in the odd bit. There's not too many huge straights here at Buckmore to do that, but you may as well just take the advantage while you've got it and push to try and work together. And that's the thing. You will see some of the teams here. Some of them, I think, as well, the teams, a lot of them, they know each other by now. You know, we've got a lot of repeat returnees here at the event, so they'll know who they want to work with in the long run, and they'll catch up to them. Obviously, they've got the number plates on the back of the cart as well. They'll know who their sort of friends are, and you know, maybe even rivals within the paddock. So they'll try and work together as it goes on. Another fastest lap there actually by Rango with Red Mist now. So 6th place has the fastest lap of the race, and there's only 3.5 seconds between the top 6. It's not spread out as much as I thought it was going to in the first couple of minutes here, because we knew that there are some rapid teams with unbelievably rapid drivers that, you know, they're just that extra 0.5% above some of the quickest guys in the field, and they send them out early to get that initial stint done, but they've not managed to go away with it yet. So we've got a few groups forward.
But as you said, this opening stint is probably one of the most, if not the most important part of the race, so you want to send out your best drivers, and that's why we saw it so closely in qualifying, those 7/10 separating the entire field, and that's likely to be ridiculous, isn't it? Yeah, we're probably going to be seeing the same drivers that were out in qualifying in the race, or at least, you know, drivers from the upper end of every team, which is what keeps it close. But soon we're going to be getting to that point where we start to see karts being lapped, so we can already see Belly Boys racing down in 30th place, 40 seconds off the leaders, which means Nameless are going to be catching up to them in a few minutes' time and starting to put some laps, and that's really when we'll see our field starting to disperse, and we'll start to see those gaps coming through. And then it comes down to, well, it's not just about how quick you are, it's not about how consistent you are, but how well can you navigate through the lapped cars.
Yeah, absolutely. And the thing to remember as well with karting is that, one, these machines are wider at the back than they are at the front, and they don't have mirrors. A lot of the time, if you've ever been rental karting, for example, or corporate karting as they call it, you'll know that you can't look behind you. You've just got to assume sometimes that someone's going to send it and go down the inside. This is a lot wider than a lot of circuits that people may have been to this place. It's a fantastic professional facility at Buckmore Park, but even then, you could get an absolute send or a dive bomb down the inside when you are least expecting it, and you have to be careful. And obviously ready for it almost all the time, but when you're just focusing on your own lines and your own race, it's so hard to get your head around that, isn't it?
And one of the great things about Buckmore, or the terrible things about Buckmore, depending on how you look at it, is when you go for an overtake, it's actually quite easy for the driver on the outside to hold on to the position, hang it around the outside, or go for a switchback. And while I say it's a horrible thing, as a driver sometimes I think that when I'm trying to go for an overtake, but as a spectator it means you get to see some really, really good racing. And we're now seeing Accelerate Kent Brewery starting to close in onto Dab Motorsport, so that gap is now well under 2 seconds, 1.5 seconds, and I think Accelerate Kent are dragging this whole cart of pro carts all the way down to 7th with Burrow 11 and dragging them up towards our leading duo.
Yeah, that's the thing. It's involuntarily working together at certain points, isn't it? When you don't want a certain team to go with you, if you see them as a threat, or you think, oh, they're going to be quicker than us, sometimes you can just unknowingly drag them towards your competitors that you're trying to chase down. But a fantastic opening stint already here. As you see, the circuit is full of karts and it's very, very busy, and we will get to a point of the race, won't we, Yousuf, where we've got this sort of mid-snake in the middle of the pack at the moment, where it's a bit closer together, but at some point there will just be every single kart in the field evenly spaced out, and you won't be able to look anywhere without seeing at least 4 or 5 karts in your view.
Yeah, and for us, you know, there's so many different battles we can keep our eyes on, but it's really entertaining as well, just as a team, because you're trying to work out all of the drivers you battle with, and as the gaps start to expand, you get 6-7 hours into the race, and you start to think, okay, who are we actually battling with? And okay, this car is a minute up the road, so over this stint of 60 laps, if we can gain 2/10 every lap, we can gain I don't know, my maths is terrible right now, but we can gain about 15 seconds.
You're a teacher.
I know. So quick maths was never my speciality.
You've got no excuse, son.
I picked some terrible numbers.
Then again, you're a good driver, and there's a reason I'm a commentator, and it's that I'm not a good driver. So you've got that on me at least.
Well, are you saying I'm not a good commentator, Chaz?
Of course you are.
Okay, thank you.
Of course you are, darling. We've got Rango with Red Mist. It's already started. Rango with Red Mist 5th at the moment, still with that fastest lap. And the thing is, I think as the race goes on, that's just going to be down to pure bragging rights in the end, isn't it? Like the guys were saying, they've all got such a level mindset about it, about how they're going to approach the race. I was hoping that some of them were going to be saying, yeah, we're just going to send it in the first hour, wait till the end and then send it again. But they were like, no, we're going to be really controlled and really calm, cool, collected, and we're not going to overdo it. You know, it's a long race, it's fine. I was like, someone just say they're going to send it.
Yeah.
But, you know, everyone's playing it safe in this opening stint, which is what you'd expect them to do. I think because the event's been run that many times now, you know, this is the fourth? Is it because of 20? Yes, this is the 5th.
It's been running since 2019, but we missed that year in
2020.
21 or 2020.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, because me and Anthony Jordan were filming driving, and he made an idiot of me, and I'm glad that never went on air. I had like half a lap head start and still beat me. It was awful. But
I need to message Anthony and get that footage.
Please don't. He would have way too much pleasure in showing it. But the thing is, because the event has been run a number of times now, the teams know how it works. They know how some of the returnees will approach the race. They know certain drivers' names, who to keep an eye on. You know, it's something where everyone's getting wise to it now. There's still new teams as well to the grid, which is great to see. So, you know, they may not have the experience, and that might throw a bit of a sort of a wild card element into this, won't it?
And I'm just keeping an eye on this battle for first place, because Accelerate Kent are definitely closing in. That gap is now 1.5 seconds, and I'm starting to think if Nameless and Dab Motorsport have maybe got a bit complacent and just they've got into their rhythm and they're thinking, right, let's just keep putting in these laps. And Accelerate have been pushing themselves. They found that extra 2/10 lap and starting to reel in those leading two, as there is our number 11 kart of Nameless. What do you call them? Nameless Racing? No, Nameless Motorsport. It says there as well.
Well, fantastic opening stint. Like I said, there's a great battle going on there just towards Garda as they were going up towards the hairpin there. I was just trying to keep my eye on who that was. Mighty close together. It's the Spicy Boys in kart 19 with a big bunch of them behind. And there's just this humongous train of karts together. Is that what they call a collective of karts? Is it called a train?
Train? I think we tend to say a train of karts.
Yeah.
Gaggle of karts.
Gaggle. I like that. I prefer a gaggle. But yeah, it's so close together throughout all of that midfield at the moment, and it's not even like it's a cork in the bottle scenario, is it? Because sometimes, as we've mentioned, you will happily sit behind the kart in front and just sort of follow the pace of what they're doing. I mean, I'm not sure about you, but often I've not got any real world racing experience, but whenever I've been sim racing, for example, which is where I started my career, I always find it so much easier to follow somebody than be the one just chasing pure numbers and have no target in front of me, no physical target.
Yeah, it's one of those kind of psychological aspects, and you see it in all forms of racing, whether it's sim racing, car racing, karting. If you've got someone in front of you that you can chase down, there's a bit of an incident, and I think the number 10 was trying to allow the 18 back through.
That almost looked to me like he was holding his hand up to say, what are you doing? Oh? No, he's put his hand up a bit.
Yellow flag, potentially, heading down into Simon Sweet, and that yellow flag is going to allow third place to really close in onto the top two, because the top two want to make sure they don't, go too fast under the yellows, but everyone behind is just going to go that little bit quicker to close it. Yeah,
they've got a visual reference, like I say, of what pace everyone's doing in front. They might try and sort of eke it out a little bit more. There's, by the look of it, there's one of the staff carts was behind the barrier there, waiting to sort of poke out into the circuit. So I'm not quite sure where the stranded cart is, if there is one down there.
You know what? It's a little bit like when you're on the motorway in an average speed zone, and you see someone in front of you on the average speed, and you slowly creep up to them.
I was doing that this morning on the way down there, to be honest with you.
And there is the Accelerate car closing in. I believe it's Rory O'Regan, who is the driver for the Nameless Motorsport kart at the front of the field. So we have found a name for him.
Fantastic. Well, we've got the top three separated by less than a second at the moment, all completely nose to tail on screen here. And actually, to be fair, I mean, look at all this lot right together. This is first down to sixth place, and they are breaking away from the field in such a beautiful formation at the moment. It's a snake of karts. It's still the number 11 in the lead. You can see a little glance over the shoulder there from the driver of the number 5 machine, the DAB Motorsport kart. Just checking, because again, they don't have mirrors on these things, so you do have to physically sort of move your whole body to have a look behind you. It will often be a quick glance, usually mid-corner as well, because that's the perfect opportunity to do it. There's a move down the inside there actually by the EKS All-Stars machine, and through he goes. And you could see the hand signal there. He was pointing forward to say, right, stick with these guys, like, don't return the favour. But that's a cheeky way of sort of saying, don't try a cutback on me.
Now
I've overtaken you, just follow me, I'll show you.
I believe that's Luke Battersby for the EKS All-Stars, who is now up into fifth position. So Rango with Red Mist will drop down, and they're actually starting to fall back a bit. But this is another perfect opportunity for DAB Motorsport to go for an overtake, because before it was the top two, big gap, they needed to work together. But now that the whole field's caught up, there's nothing to stop DAB Motorsport going for that overtake. You may as well just go for it and see if you can try to break away from the rest of the group.
Yeah, that's the thing. You need to just, at the end of the day, if you're at the front of the group, you don't really need to worry about what's going on behind you. You've just got to push and focus forward. If one of those drivers wants to try and break through and then try and make an overtake and sort of slow the whole group down, so be it. It's a 24-hour race. You're only, not even 20 minutes in now, 18 minutes in. You've just got to take it as it comes with moves like that early on. It's only really in the later stages of the race, when you know where people are in terms of their servicing.
EKS All-Stars going for a move up the inside, I think.
Yeah, into Garda. Big send on the only way is Brentwood. I'm sorry if I offended anybody from Brentwood earlier by saying it's definitely not the way, but we'll stand by midpoint. Fourth place at the moment in kart 13. It's unlucky for some, I suppose. But the number 10 machine, out of all of these so far, in just the last couple of laps, has proven itself to be the car, like you said, Luke Battersby behind the wheel, wanting to be the one to push forward. But there is the move for the lead, actually. Comes at turn 2. And DAB Motorsport, well, sending it down the inside. A little bit of contact on the way through, but that is more than likely. You can see the number 4 there actually as well from the Accelerate Kent Brewery racing machine. They just moved slightly to the side to ensure that he definitely saw the hand signal on the right to say, look, just focus on what they're doing, don't go for a move, just keep your eye on it and sit behind me. And this is so close, but returning the favour now, the Nameless crew just sending it back down the inside. That causes a little bit of a check-up now, and DAB Motorsport backed into the Accelerate Brewery team. Then the only way is Brentford going down the inside, side by side across the start finish they go once again. You can see the EKS guys as well barging this way and that way, while moving in a straight line is definitely not kosher. But the number 12 machine now, Rango with Red Mist going back through, still side by side for third place. There's that momentum around the outside you mentioned. This is going really well for the number 12 machine now. 2 places gained out of all the argy-bargy that's going on, but now on the outside line through the hairpin. They're all really keeping an eye on each other, but still side by side as they head back down the hill once more. They're not giving this up. The EKS machine really pushing through there. Definitely the feistiest of the bunch at this moment. Fantastic racing. This is what you're on about, wasn't it, Yousuf?
Yeah.
They can remain side by side for so long and just carry such great momentum. But look, it's not broken the pack up at all, really.
Exactly, and that's the thing that the drivers at the back of the pack have to realise. We can only battle when the top guys are battling. If they stop battling, we have to stop battling.
You have to reflect the behaviour of those in front, don't you?
And it was absolutely incredible, because when they came over the line last time around, your top 6 was separated by half a second. You'd think that this was a 15-minute sprint race.
You would. You absolutely would, yeah. That timer at the top of your screen is definitely not incorrect, everybody. There is still 23 hours and 39 minutes of this race left, but they're treating it like there's 23 thousandths of the race left. I tell you what.
Maybe they think it's 23 hours have passed.
Yeah, that's true, yeah. They're thinking, oh, last half hour, let's send it. It might feel like it, though, if they've had a long enough morning of practice and qualifying. I mean, you've been out there. But this is just great racing from the top 6 already, you know. Fantastic stuff. And don't forget, this is just in the pro class as well. We have 2 classes over the course of this event. We've got the ditch finders currently leading the way at the moment. They've just done their best lap of the race as well, a 49.424 in the number 25 car, currently in 8th position. They've got 1 car between themselves and the Sporting Club as well, who are currently rounding out the top 10. That's the difference. You see the left-hand side, the blue carts in the pro class, and then the black number boards are the rookie class, and still more chopping and changing here, Yousuf, between these teams at the front.
Rory O'Regan a little bit late covering off the number 5, and that's now allowing Tom Langford to get involved, but he can't quite pull his way up the inside going into the S's, as now they head down into the Syme Sweep. They all take relatively similar lines, but I'm noticing a few of them go a little bit deeper into the right hand and take a slightly tighter line through the left, so not really sure if that's working out for them, but clearly they're still doing it, so yeah, it's working out for them.
I suppose it's one of those things, you know, you don't really get a live delta from the machine or anything, do you? You know, we've not got the most high-tech steering wheels in the world here, so they just have to, you just got to try it. At the end of the day, when you're out there, you just got to give it a send and do what you can at every single opportunity. You know, sometimes taking a later apex might work better. Oh, there's a car stopped there. I thought that was the number 10 for a second there. They've got the green suit. It's the number 19 machine. It's just got back up to pace after a little bit of a spin further down the order.
But Nameless continuing to lead. 10th clear.
Sorry, mate, I was just going to confirm that was the Spicy Boys. They've lost about 8 positions due to that, so I'm not sure if that was contact with somebody else or a spin on their own. It's easy to overdo it down the hill, isn't it?
It is very easy, especially earlier on when it was damp, but it's one of those very tricky corners because it's completely flat. As there goes EKS, I think, going for a move up the inside. They've made it work a little bit wide, and contact with which car? That was Rango with the red mist.
Yeah, Rango pushed really wide there. That's the thing, though. I suppose you can have the confidence to send it down the inside, but if the other car doesn't know you're coming and they still want to try and turn in, the resulting effect is that you're both going to run wide if they sort of turn into that rear quarter. And now we've got 2 trios essentially, so you've got to hope that EKS are going to push hard enough now to bridge that gap again. The number 4 machine, Accelerate Kent Brewery. Oh, hello, that's the number 28 machine around. That's slick and tired, and they will be tired of that one, to be fair. But they get back underway again. It's pleasing me at the moment, though, that Kart 28 is in 28th place, not because it's a bad result for them, but just because it matches up. I'm going to be keeping my eye on that over the whole day. James, stop laughing at me.
Let's keep an eye on the lap times, because EKS All-Stars have really closed into the top 3. I think this might potentially be a new fastest lap of the race, and right now for EKS, they are slowly going through, but it's a little bit, maybe for our medieval fans, a bit like a crossbow, right? You go for one overtake, you fire that one ball, now you've got about 10 minutes to reload before you can go for another overtake.
Yousuf, what? Oh, medieval fans. Just in case you are watching this in 1662 and you've got it on +1, that's for you, that one. Alpha Live +1. We're going to have to set up a second YouTube channel for it. Still, what brilliant racing. I mean, there's no other way to assess it. There's just brilliant racing at the front of the field. There's number 2 machine sending it down the inside of the 18. Nice space left on the inside there. That's TRX Motorsport Elite making a move on, did I say the 18? Yes, that's the TRX Motorsport Academy teams. That's actually lapped traffic at this point there. Just very fortunate that we caught the 2 teams that are sort of sister teams to one another going past. They've actually got Elite Discos behind them. Another move there, actually. That was the 14 machine going down the inside. Look at how closely all these guys are fighting now down the hill. EKS up into 3rd place right now. It's hard to pick out who's who in all of this lot because they're so close together. This is where they are going to start getting lost through traffic, isn't it?
Yeah. But wait until our leading sextet catch up to that big blob of carts that you mentioned that's currently making their way through Ghana. So they're about half a lap ahead of this group currently, as we are watching the number 16 make its way through the opening couple of corners. Elite Discos, which is running P4 in the rookie class.
one of the best things about the timing screen that we get here from the beautiful people at Alpha Live is the fact that we have this tiny little blue line that moves across the name of the teams. I'm not sure if you can all see that at home if you're watching the live timing. It shows you a rough estimate of where about around the lap they are, so you get an idea of which teams are close together and which are not. And I can say that the Burrow 11 NFS team that we spoke to earlier on are very much on their own at the moment in a bit of no man's land in 7th position. They've got about 6 seconds to the actually 7 seconds to the cart in front, and then 10 seconds to the cart behind as well. But to be fair, Yousuf, when you're on a stint, that can do you a lot of good because you've got nobody to worry about sending it down the inside of. All you've got to think about is maybe a bit of lap traffic here and there, but you can just run your own race then and not be in a really intense battle and have to dive out of the way.
Lead us.
There having a bit of a wiggle and ooh, side by side.
Oh, Langford's gone a little bit wide for Accelerate Ken Brewery, and they're 3 abreast.
Yeah, there was a big hit there down the inside. I think EKS it was sending it into the left-hander, and there was a massive bit of contact. They all rattle off each other. 3 wide again into turn 1. Yeah, the EKS machine's gone through to the front, but the tiny tap there with the DAB Motorsport crew has put them back in front. Now into turn 2, the 21 machine saying, I'm not having any part of this, thank you.
Smart decision.
They nearly ended up on the A2 then for a minute. They had to pay to get back in. But wow, I tell you what, great avoidance of all of this lot. And still, they end up really close together out of all of that. It's just fantastic persistence from all of these teams.
These 6 have been separated by no more than 2 seconds throughout the entire race. And yes, we've seen some cards dropping a little bit down the order and then moving back up through the field as well, but all of this battling, it might allow Burrow 11 NFS to close in as well, and I think that is the number 8 car, so Burrow really closed in. So these 6 battling, our 6th is going to turn into a septet very soon, and after that I have no idea what you call a group.
Octet.
Yeah,
which just sounds stupid, so we're not going to call it that. Basically.
What about 9? Is that a nonet?
Reeves shaking his head in disgust.
We'll let chat figure it out, and we'll keep our eyes on this battle. But
no, stuff chat. I want to figure it out.
I'm trying to think now. What would it be? Oh, I'm not. Yeah, Reeves googling it. We've got Reeve Taylor in the commentary box as well. Bless him. He's having a look for it.
Oh, a bit wide there for the number 5. That's going to allow EKS to go up the inside.
Hey, look, there's a race going on. 5 and 10 side by side through Garda once again. DAB Motorsport have the inside line for the left-hander after that. And EKS are now under pressure again, and that's the thing with karting. He didn't know the Nameless team was on his right-hand side there as they came out of the corner, and that has compromised them. You can see him put his hand up in the air as if to say, what is he doing? But you can't expect him to see him there, Sunshine. He's not got mirrors. You haven't either. But wow, they just are using every inch of this circuit to try and get one over on each other, and still they're all glued together, less than, well, just over a second technically, separating all of these lot.
It's one of the greatest mysteries of racing is racing drivers will pay to go to a race, but then get upset when people try to race with them.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's
you know what? That's one of the best points I've ever heard. That is the paradox of racing. It's like, I want to do well, but you're not allowed to go past me. Well, what do you expect me to do? Because I want to do well as well.
Yeah.
Everyone's trying to be in the same space, and then they get annoyed when other people are trying to take said space. So, here's what it is. But that's the
that's caught me off guard, that Yousuf. I'm so sorry.
Fantastic point. But you were right though, the Burrow 11 NFS team have really been gaining ground actually. The gap was about 8 seconds earlier on. It's now 6.4. So they've, over the last lap, they've lost a little bit actually, to be fair. But again, they have traffic of their own to deal with, don't they, in this long run?
And the ditch finders have been getting reeled in, as we can see Quadrant who are clapping. So I'm guessing one of their, there's a Quadrant car. And they can see themselves on the TV screen as well. So where oh no, they're back down to 30th. Oh dear.
Well, they're still celebrating 30th, so hats off to them. They're embodying.
They're sandbagging, right?
Of course. Yeah.
Do you know how late can they wait before starting? Because otherwise it's too easy.
Well, yeah. They're going to wait till the 6-hour mark has passed, and then they can really show the pace and remain in the rookie.
Because otherwise they go up. Yeah, smart. They know what they're doing.
Long-term strats, that's what that is. I can confirm, by the way, from our correspondent Reed, that he's let us know that it's called an octet and a nonad. Can I say that on stream?
Nonad. Nonad?
Sorry, James, this is getting demonetised now. I do apologise, but it's called a nonad. No, it's not.
I swear Reed's winding us up.
We've had a track limit warning. Naughty, MPMC, the first team to get that. Someone note that down and remind them of it for the next 23.5 hours. The first
2.5 hours. Because it gets reset every 3 hours, doesn't it?
Oh, yeah, but they were still the first.
Oh yeah, true. Yeah.
They were still the first ones to disregard the white lines. Driver ready to go there, and this is the thing as well that we're going to see over the course of the race. For anyone that doesn't know what that is, that's a seat insert for if you're below 5 foot.
But he was wearing motorbike gloves, which I don't think I can approve of.
Oh no. I mean, he jumped on top of it like it was a motorbike, to be fair, when he got in. Number 28 heading out of the pits. That seems like an early stop. But
It is.
Is it potentially strategic to get out of a bit of traffic? Because you're only going to find traffic another sort of 100 metres later, aren't you?
So
that's the slick and tired team, so clearly he was tired.
Very tired. It was actually a relatively slick pit stop by the looks of it, so we got both in.
We're good at this.
Oh dear. But, no, I was no, you caught me off guard. I was going to say, the carts can go about 2 hours before they run out. Maybe a little bit longer, but it's up in the air. You don't want to risk it because you can't clearly see where the fuel level is. So
Yeah.
when everyone comes into the pits at 2 hours, there's a massive queue and you can lose a huge amount of time. So one of the things that you can do as a team is you can desync from everyone else.
Yeah,
so you can pit a little bit earlier. Personally, I'd say you want to pit about 20 minutes before 2 hours, because then if you go just over 2 hours with every stint, you can still do the minimum number of pit stops. Whereas if you pit this early, I think over the course of the race, you'll probably have to do one more pit stop than everyone else.
Yeah, absolutely. You need to be just. It's so difficult because there's so many teams out there, so many drivers contributing to said team as well. So many of them want to get across their own ideas of what they do with the strategy itself, you know, and how they portray it, and obviously try and keep it secret from other teams. You want to be that team that comes up with the bright idea that no one else is doing.
Yes.
But with so many people involved in every team and so many of them in the race, it's
Who
very
have done
unlikely.
so many of the races as well over the years.
It's going to be so difficult for you to stand out, isn't it?
Absolutely. Now, I do have a question. As the number 2 and number 9 are looking very feisty heading down into Ghana, they've got a huge train behind them. This is the battle for P12, TRX Motorsport Elite, clambering their way up the order, battling with Loughborough Legends and Neil. And my question, actually, as they get a contact warning as well as they come over the line, but the Loughborough Legends up to the front of this group. Neil, do we reckon...
Was it Neil?
Was it Neil? Number 1. Number 2, is Neil just not from Loughborough, or is he just not a legend?
Well, if he made contact first and he was the first person to get the warning, then he's a legend now, Neil. Well done. Oh, Nameless Motorsport now as well, getting a contact warning. You need to be careful of it, though, and that's the thing. It's all individually judged, because we know that there will be contact in this sort of race. Like we said before, you know, the karts themselves, you can't see who's behind you. If someone's going to send a move down the inside, there will be contact. That's just how it is. But it's the nature in which the contact comes about. The BN Racing team are now getting a contact warning as well. Kart number 26. They're currently running in 15th place outright. They are right with the Science Sealed Delivered team, which is one of the most fantastic puns on the entire grid. And in comes the Quadrant Machine, kart number 30. I think, was it Mia behind? Sorry, was it Rhea Bush behind the wheel in the first
But they're not
stint?
filling up, so they're just getting a driver change.
Just a driver change out of the way. Yeah. But again, you've got to be strategic with it, who goes in the kart and when. And I mean, you said that the fuel tanks on these will last about 2 hours. I don't think my hands or my wrists could last 2 hours. I mean, I've done a significant amount of karting less than you, Yousuf. But I swear to God, I could not do 2 hours straight. I don't think I'd see an entire fuel tank.
And Buckmore's quite a physical circuit as well.
Yeah.
So
very high speed too.
It comes down just to how you use the steering wheel. A lot of drivers sometimes
I tend to
grip
turn
the
it left and right.
Yeah, I go up and down.
Oh.
Yeah.
See, there's your mistake, mate. What you've got to do is push it really hard and it goes quicker.
Oh, it's like, you know how Mercedes had that weird... You know how they changed the toe on their steering wheel?
It was on the Sodi RT10 first, before the Mercedes F1.
Okay.
Reeve agrees, because he was the one that designed it.
Yeah.
Sorry, we're getting off topic here. That Motorsport leading. Look at that. Last time they crossed the line, less than 1/10 of a second.
That's brilliant. We've got a few more karts coming into pits. I don't think we'll see any of our top 6, 7.
Is that the Quadrant kart again?
They're back. I think they forgot to come in the pits and fill up, and they went straight to the driver change and missed the fuel Bowser.
Oh no.
That's embarrassing.
Oh, dear me. Rhea is out of the kart and giving a quick debrief. We'll see who gets in next. They've got a great list of drivers to choose from actually as well. They've got 8 drivers sharing the kart over the course of the race. Like I said earlier, some of the teams have more drivers than others. The most drivers in one team is actually BN Racing, who have 9 drivers over the course of this. So half of them aren't even going to get a chance to drive, to be honest with you. They're not really going to have very long stints over the course of the run. But still, look at this lot here. This is the this is the group at the front of the field. 3 wide through the left-hander. They're really close together. You can see them all just eyeing each other up, saying, "Go on, I dare you." And the quadrant cart comes out right in front of them. There's 2 of the rookie class carts there, but it is the EKS All-Stars team leading the way. That's not your team by any chance, is it?
It is my team as well.
Thrown his arms up in the air.
He got a contact warning for it as well.
And you're not even in the cart yet.
I'm not yet. Oh, you don't want to see what happens when I get in the cart.
Well, we'll see you above everybody else because you're about 9'6". But we've got EKS All-Stars leading the way. Nameless in second, Dab Motorsport in third. I'm really sorry, everybody, if you think I'm not a serious commentator at this point, but I love my job. Rango Red Mist in fourth with Accelerate Brewery, and then the only way is Brentford behind them. Burrow NFS are still 6 seconds off the back of these, so in the long run, they've not actually gained anything, have they, in the traffic?
No, that gap's come down by maybe a tiny bit, but is, as you said, remained relatively constant as the quadrant car gets well out the way of our leading 6. So the question becomes, do we see our leading pro drivers start to battle, or do they try to pull away? We've essentially changed the cast at the front of the field, so it's a case of, okay, let's work together, let's see what happens for 5 minutes, and then we'll start battling. Not the case for Rango with Red Mist. Red Mist kicks in, up the inside of Dab Motorsport, who then say, absolutely not, Sonny Jim, we're going back up the inside of you into hairpin 2. They retake the position, although Dab Motorsport do get a contact warning in the process.
I did wonder at first whether Dab Motorsport was just a fun name, but actually one of the drivers is Sean Dabbin. So I'm wondering whether it's down to just his name, and whether he wants to be really selfish, or whether they were going to dab every time they overtook somebody. But
if we see them in the pit lane and we get the camera on them and they don't dab, I think they get a black flag. I think that's fair.
Not going to disagree. I was trying to think of a different sort of penalty, but there's not really a lot that we can get Clinton to do. Just get Clinton to go down there and hit him with a flag or something. EKS All-Stars leading the way still with a marginal gap. It is so tiny, because this is the thing though, this could get frustrating for these teams at the front, because they're doing all of this hard work, they're swapping positions a lot, but they're not gaining a massive amount or breaking away. But I suppose, I mean, if you know karting as well as these teams do, I suppose you know that's just part of the game.
Yeah. You know what
I contradicted myself really well there, didn't I?
You know what could be great? If you sit behind a cart and you do a bit of lifting coasting.
Yeah.
You could go a little bit longer on that first stint, overcut everyone, do one less pit stop, and you're laughing.
Yeah. I'm going to say this out loud on the stream. I've just had the first thought cross my mind of the day of something that I could definitely say that would not be broadcastable as a joke. So I'm going to write it down on my phone and I'm going to let everybody know later on.
Okay, perfect.
So, yeah, but we'll talk about longer stints later on when it gets into the night. Black flag for Loughborough Legends. Neil, what have you done? Loughborough Legends and Neil. It will be Neil. Everyone knows a Neil, and it's always Neil. So
if anyone is here next year and you're wondering why you're seeing Loughborough Legends and not Neil, that's going to be the team name. It won't be Loughborough Legends
sans Neil.
Or just Loughborough Legends, but not Neil.
Yeah. Previously of Neil.
Oh, the Slideman. Oh, the Slideman. It's fine. They caught us out.
No, they caught you out.
Yeah.
Don't drag me into this.
I made a slip up, a slide up.
I'll give you that one. That was a good recovery, Yousuf. Nicely done. But yes, the slide men getting a black flag as well. Interesting to see them come in the first hour. I wasn't really expecting that, to be fair. I'm not sure whether that's a bit naive of me or not, but yeah, less than an hour in. I can't believe we're nearly 40 minutes in. Where's that gone? But black flag's already being handed out here. I suppose it's easy to overly push, isn't it, in the first hour? Because like we've been building it up to, you know, it's one of the liveliest hours of the race when the field is close together. You're doing as many overtaking manoeuvres as you can, and it's very easy to just overdo it, get a bit overzealous, isn't it?
No, I think they had only had one contact warning, both Loughborough Legends, and I don't think Slideman had any, so I think that is a case of a takeout. So I think they've hit someone, caused them to go wide and lose a couple of positions, so I think that's where that black flag has come from, and it's why it's so important just to be very cautious and not risk anything, because you could gain 1/10, 2/10 a lap if you're pushing really hard. You get a black flag, all of that hard work's down the drain, so it's about balancing how hard you want to push against the risk that comes with it.
Yeah, definitely. You have to balance it, and it's hard when you're behind the wheel to think about doing that, because you just want to go as fast as you can all the time. But you do have to sort of come out of it. Oh, hello, sunshine.
That's a battle for the rookie class.
Yeah, I was going to say, see the Sporting Club and Ditch Finders side by side for just a moment. and there was a big bit of contact actually between the two of them. Although no, that's the 23 MPMC kart that's in there, isn't it? Actually, I thought for a moment it was the 25. I do apologise, but it's the that's the 20 and the 23, not the 22 and 25. I was a few digits off. It's fine, but still, these guys really close together. EKS have been demoted from the first couple of spots now, down to third. That was the number 7 machine, the Slidemen, coming into the pit lane to serve that black flag penalty. But they just come in and they just get a telling off, don't they, basically?
They do get held for 20 seconds in the pit lane,
right.
So they lose a lot of time with a black flag, but as you mentioned, Dabird Sports have retaken the lead. We'll try to keep an eye out as well for the Sporting Club and Ditchfinders, who are separated by only a couple of hundredths, really, if even that. As we start a new lap, having a look at the number 1 car, Team ARD, who I think are trying to fight their way back up the order, currently down in P15, but we're back to half a second separating our top 5.
Amazing battle, absolutely amazing battle, and there goes another fastest lap actually. Oh no, it just came up purple on its own for some reason, and then it's just reverted. The 48.897 by Team Rango with Red Mist was set earlier on, but for some reason it just lit up purple on the timing and then it's gone back black. My apologies. But that top 6 actually is just remarkably close, and this is the thing, it's not changed at all. It's just the order has been shuffled around a lot. I think they've done, to be fair to them, a great job to not really break up that fight in this stage. You know, it shows you how well they're playing the game, and you know, they're just keeping their head in the situation, aren't they? As we look now at the rookie class lead, the Sporting Club and Ditchfinders. Ditchfinders were the early leaders in the class, but again, this just looks like they're happy to sit there at the moment. They know that maybe they've got the initial pace on us at this point. We may have a faster driver lined up for later on. You never know if another team's got that sort of ace in their back pocket or anything, do you?
Yeah, and well, again, they're in a similar situation as our overall race leaders. Do they work together, or do they just try to take the lead and pull away? Just looking at lap times, their last laps identical, 49.6. His fastest laps only a 10.5 separating them, as we get a very nice scenic shot of one of the drivers. That is right outside race control, I believe.
Absolutely is. Fantastic shots from everyone around here at Alpha Live. They do a wonderful job of these broadcasts. Worked with them a few times recently. Love you too, James. And they have been fantastic. They're always just good fun to work with, that's the thing, you know, and I'm not saying that just because they're paying me, but it's just a really, really good laugh, and we're having a lot of fun. That's what these events are all about. You know, the teams were embodying that earlier on, weren't they, Yousuf? And you know, we'll do our jobs up here at the same time, informing everybody and entertaining, but we're going to have fun as well.
You know, you say the teams are having lots of fun. I agree with that. As now we do have a new fast lap from Team Rango with Red Mist.
They heard me.
But I will say, I think, you know, your top 5, top 6 teams, they probably aren't. They're all just really sweaty. Yeah, seriously. What is fun?
Yeah, what is fun? We're here to get a result and nothing else. But no, you know, I mentioned it earlier on the grid. You will see teams and certain drivers, especially those right at the top end of the order, they'll have radio receivers on the helmets. They'll be talking to the teams. When we, you know, go out on, there's a balcony just outside the room that we're producing the broadcast from today, and when you look out on the balcony, and even when we go out there, you'll see the teams with their headsets on. They're constantly talking to each other. Even earlier when I was in the pit lane, I thought there was drivers around just trying to talk to me, or you know, talking to people around them, but then you realise they're stood on their own, and it just looks like they're stood talking to themselves, because there's somebody up on the balcony giving instructions, or they're talking about what they're going to do in the strategy and what they're going to do over the course of the race. It's just great to see it. But again, it just shows you how important this event is. They take it that seriously, you know, and the teams really don't muck about here. And it's what makes it such a professional event, isn't it? I mean, these squads right now that we have battling for these top 6 positions are some of the finest kart racers that you'll see in the country that really know how to wrangle these things. They'll have thousands of laps around here at Buckmore because it is a circuit that you really have to master. And it's what keeps them so close together. 1.6 seconds after 45 minutes of racing.
And I think as well with Buckmore Park, because it is, you know, one of the biggest circuits in the country, no matter what kind of series you race in, you tend to go to Buckmore Park, whether it's the likes of the BKC Club 100 that I think a lot of our drivers have competed in, or even some of the rental karting championships. You tend to go to Buckmore, and everyone knows this circuit like the back of their hand. Might not be in these particular karts, and let's not forget this is a brand new fleet of karts, but it might be in 4 strokes, it might be in 2 strokes, but they know this layout, they know how the track evolves in the dry and the wet conditions, and they are all incredibly good at it. Our top 6 separated by 1.5 seconds. as we get closer and closer to that 1 hour mark. And you spoke as well about drivers having their headsets. I always find it quite...
That guy's really bored. Sorry. That was a
Wait,
massive yawn. The guy in the red then.
Okay.
Looked really intense for a second, then when he turned sideways, he was yawning his bag off.
Oh, let's be honest.
Clearly not got a lot
We're going
to
to see lots of yawns from you, I think, in a bit. You're currently on how many hours of sleep, was it?
Officially 8.
8, okay, yeah. I can go with that. 8.
Officially 8. Yeah. 8 hours of sleep. And
So
not a 4-hour drive down here this morning.
No. So with drivers having their radios, it's quite interesting as well to see how some drivers prefer to get their information. Some drivers like loads of information to be given with them.
Yeah.
Other drivers are a little bit like Kimi Räikkönen and saying, shut up, I know what I am doing. And they just want to crack on with
turn
it.
it off and wind them off.
Yeah.
Just not communicate back. Oh, well, I suppose
I
if you
sing
leave
to
it
my
on.
drivers sometimes.
Okay, so if you join us again at about 3 a.m. Wait, when are you back
12
on
hours?
later?
I think it's about midnight, isn't it?
Okay, you'll have the midnight hour with Yousuf where he's
Yeah.
going to start serenading you all.
Oh no, I do it to my drivers. Because they can't do anything. Viewers can. I might get some viewers coming
Actually,
through that
yeah.
door and, you know.
Yeah, we'll get James waving in the corner saying, no, stop it, the numbers are dropping. The numbers are dropping, but still. Again, it's all part of the fun, everybody. We hope you're enjoying the show so far here on Alpha Live for the Buckmore Park 24 hours here in 2024. Chaz Draycott and Yousuf bin-Suhayl alongside each other in the commentary box. We'll have Kieran McGinley and Reeve Taylor joining us later on. We're going to be sharing the stints as the day goes on, and we are only just over, well, say only just, it's 45 minutes in, but that has gone by in a flash. We do say that this is the liveliest hour of the race, but, oh, as we say that, there was no karts in shot for a second there, typically. That's just, yeah.
We're getting the commentator curses out of the way as early as possible, right?
We do. Well, the drivers, as you heard, were getting the excuses out of the way before the race had even started earlier on. So
They're taking a leaf out of my book. So I always say the best drivers aren't the quickest ones. It's the ones that have the best excuses.
I'm not even good at getting the excuses out of the way before I get in the vehicle. Never mind that. But still, you can see just how, this is one of the best things about it as well, is how close you can get to the circuit here at Buckmore as well, and that's another bonus and benefit of kart racing, isn't it? You know, the circuits are smaller versions of like real world racing circuits in the way they've got curves, they've got runoff, grass, barriers. They look fantastic. Buckmore in particular is a beautiful circuit, but you can get so close to it as well. And for spectators, it's brilliant, especially with the balcony and the buildings they've got here as well. And it's actually a karting circuit with quite a lot of undulation. You know, there's a hill here, as you see there. It's a large hill on this circuit. Mainly, karting circuits are very flat, aren't they? And just a series of hairpins.
You get loads of trees as well at turn 1, and yeah, trees are cool, but the weird thing with trees, as I say trees for about the 4th time.
The weird thing with trees.
The weird thing with trees is they block sunlight. So so it makes it really awkward to dry up a circuit.
Yeah,
so,
but again, it's another element to what makes this circuit such a challenge. You know, you could be going around a lap, especially at that top end of the circuit, like I mentioned before. It takes a little bit longer to dry out, especially on a wider line as well, because turn 1, it's such a wide corner, but people will often try and take the same line all the time. Bit of contact there between the 16 and 28. That was a really cheeky little move around the outside there by the 16, the Elite Disco's racing machine. That was putting a lap on slick and tired by the look of it. They were in the pits earlier on and had a bit of a spin. We've just had biscuits delivered in front of us. Thank you very much. We're not going to make you listen to them. We're going
I want the bourbons, so you can have the custard creams.
Deal. All day. Deal. All day. I'm more than happy with that. It's not even an hour in, I've been presented with biscuits. I love it here. So Nameless have held on to this lead for a bit now. Do you think that potentially with all the battling that was going on earlier, they've realised they needed to settle down slightly?
I don't know. Maybe some of the drivers have thought, right, okay, we're not losing any time relative to the 4 or 5 rounders, but we are losing time relative to others.
Yeah.
And now I think we're seeing the only way is Brentwood starting to drop back, right? They were nearly, well, they are a second back from Rango with Red Mist. So I think now that these 5 are starting to work together a bit more and not fighting with each other, we're starting to see some of the other teams, in this case, the only way is Brentwood, just dropping back by that tiny bit. Not a huge amount, but 1/2 a lap is enough. And now you can see that visible gap between kart 12 and kart 13 making their way down into the S's.
Yeah, and the Accelerate by Kent Brewery Racing team has actually just overtaken Dab Motorsport on that lap. While I was saying that they were chilling out a little bit.
Yeah, they're going to start
settling
down, aren't they?
Yeah, they're going to start. Again, it's commentators' curses, mate. Yeah. But we've got to use the reverse psychology and say, oh, these lot are really tame now. They're not doing anything.
Terrible race. Yeah. Nothing will happen at all.
Oh, I don't know. I'm just leaving that there. Sorry, I was
Yeah.
trying to wind you up. But no, the top 5 as it is now. Although Rango with Red Mist, they have dropped a little bit away. They were what, 0.5 of a second, half a second as it's known, off the back of those top 4.
Yep.
Not sure if a bit of fatigue comes in after a stint, because I mean, an hour is still quite a long stint in a kart, really, isn't it?
Yeah.
To be honest, you know it better than I do, but I'm quite confident in saying an hour is a long time in these cars.
Weirdly, I've never done a stint over about 40 minutes in a Sodi. And the reason why I bring up Sodis is Sodis are quite unique in the fact that they have the Formula 1 style steering wheel. So I've done long stints. I've done, I mean, pretty much 4.5 hours straight in a kart with a circular steering wheel.
Wow.
But I don't know how the physical aspect changes when you have this steering wheel, because you have to hold it in a different place. The way you apply your force, the way you grip it is completely different. Ask me in about 5 hours and I'll let you know.
Yeah, I was going to say, that's one of the best things about having Yousuf on the team for this weekend, everybody, is that he's actually going to be racing out there in this event, and also in one of the top teams here as well, the EKS All-Stars in kart number 10. So you'll be able to see him poking above all the barriers later on in the race and enjoying himself out there. But also, while we do get to speak to a bunch of drivers from the field, as I'm sure they'll come up into the commentary box over the course of the day, we have Yousuf on hand to give us the most deep and meaningful insights of how the race is going for his team. We also get it from a team's perspective as well, which would be great to see. But also we'll get the intricacies of how these karts behave. As I've made it very abundantly clear by now, I am no racing driver at all. There's a reason I'm a commentator, and I have not a lot of experience. I've driven around Buckmore before, like I say. I love it around here. It's really good fun to lap this place, actually. But you have to be so hot on it in karts, don't you?
Yeah.
That's the thing. A lot of people think that it's a very simple form of driving because it's just, it points exactly where it is. There was a kart off there.
I think it was the number 18 that had spun, which was TRX Motorsport Academy. And I guess we know why they're the Academy team and not the Pro team.
No, thought crossed my mind of saying it, but you actually said it. Fair play. Fair play. But yes.
I'll only say that because I know Miss Amanda Tricker relatively well, so I think I can get away with that.
That's fair. Yeah, and again, another benefit of having Yousuf up here. He's very well acquainted with a lot of these drivers, and they've all seen each other around the circuits of the years and different karting clubs from all over, and here at Buckmore Park especially. So we get a bit more insight into maybe the sort of mental attitude of certain drivers, how they may behave on circuit, what they're known for, what they're less known for, or infamous for, let's say. But that's one of the best things about it. There's so many great characters in each team in this event as well, and that's what makes the racing so interesting, isn't it? You know, you've not just got one driver that's going to be at a consistent pace all the way through the race. There's sometimes only 3 or 4 drivers. Sometimes there's teams with 9 drivers, and the pace differential between each of those drivers can throw up so many variables. And that's the word, isn't it? That's the key word, variables in an endurance race.
And I remember some of the first 24 hours I did with my university team, we had such a huge discrepancy, and when you send out one of your quicker drivers, you just want to essentially say, right, no, we're not going to send out our slow driver, our quick driver's just going to stay out and keep going. But obviously you can't do that, and you have to work with what you are given. As for a second I thought that was an overtake, but Tom Langford is looking quite racy, I think, behind the 11 of Rory O'Regan. I don't know if he's going to go for a move, but I think he's got a little bit more pace. The issue is, if he does go for a move, the Nameless car is 100% going to battle him as, oh dear, Nameless Motorsport. Black flag racing under yellows. I think that was the last lap round when we saw that number 18 kart spun at hairpin 1. Yeah,
and as Yousuf rightly pointed out earlier on, they're going to be assessing the sector times over the course of the run as well. So they look at the average. And there as well, the Accelerate Kent Racing team as well, the top 2 teams both getting, well, we may as well just wait a second, just see if the graphic refreshes with another one, to be honest with you, if they're all going to get it. But that's the thing. You said it earlier, Yousuf, that if a team is following another one in front and they're on the run, with their own pace, they're just going to base their pace off the team they're following.
Yeah.
So if you think, oh, well, they're going that quickly, I'm going to do that as well, you can be just guilty by association in that regard, can't you?
Well, this is a huge weight off the shoulder for DAB Motorsport, EKS All-Stars, and Rango with Red Mist, because now they know we don't have to care about the top 2. They've got to come into the pits to serve that black flag. We just now work together. And this is really important now for these 3. They cannot battle. Yeah. If they battle, they're going to start losing time, and that means Nameless and Accelerate Kent are going to start closing up, and they might be gaining those 3-4 tenths every single lap. As DAB Motorsport, they have it as well. So I guess we've gone from a sextet down to a duo.
Yeah, it's just eradicated the top 5, basically. But they can't blame anybody but themselves. I'm going to say that out loud. So Nameless in, Accelerate, Kent Brewery Racing in, Dab
another one as well.
Hey, you leave that bias at the front door. But Yousuf's team now, EKS All-Stars, also getting a penalty. So this is, well, it just goes to show, doesn't it? They've all obviously followed each other at a certain pace on a certain part of the circuit.
You know what is quite interesting? It's the team with red mist in their name that hasn't got the black flag.
Give it 5 seconds.
Oh, dear.
We may see a graphic. Oh, that was a very, that was passive aggressive. I'm a fan of that, number 20. Who was that there? The number 20 team. Signed, sealed and delivered. There was a very great delivery of the hand signal. So we'll go on.
There it is.
I told you, there it is. The penalty for all teams in the top 5 for racing under yellow flags. Guilty by association.
So the only way is Brentwood is now your class leaders. Oh, you're racing.
The only... Oh, listen.
Right, hold the fire.
He's going to be going through a lot of emotions right now and just thinking, why did I do that? Just why didn't I slow down? Oh dear Lord. Oh dear.
I wish you could all see us, because all I had to do was nod at the screen then, and Yousuf just put his head in his hands. The only way is Brentwood now getting a penalty as well, so the only way is to drive too quickly through.
You know what the funny thing is? The driver for the number 10 car, Luke Battersby, who is the captain, he arranged like this whole group call yesterday, and he said, right, everyone, as we've got Thomas Layton, the team captain from Zesty Drink Racing, right behind us, and they've just got black.
Delighted.
Takeout as well.
Takeout. Which
dinner?
One? We're going to have to ask him which of his drivers he reckons it is. Oh, well, you know who it is. I'm going to act like I got a word of that. I've got a headset on and I just looked at him and I couldn't understand a word. But still, this is throwing it up in the air.
Yeah.
This is absolutely throwing it up in the air, because now...
Borough 11 NFS are leading.
Hey, and I tell you what, that's just through pure consistency, because they sat there behind that sextet early on.
Oh look, and they've rejoined with the 11 car. So
and I tell you what, that shows you just how well the wonderful people here at Buckmore Park are applying those penalties.
Yeah.
And how tightly knit that is. They've absolutely nailed it there, and that group is still really close together. So it is going to be... Well, is the only way is
the Brentwood car?
No, they've not been in yet. I just wondered if the timing was sort of taking a sec to update, and there it is. It says they're in the pits now, with that blue designator on the left-hand side.
So Borough 11 NFS are now leading by about 20 seconds.
Yeah.
We'll see exactly what the order is once they come around. So
still getting a wave at least.
Yeah, at least they've got, you know, a little bit of
charisma
left.
Charisma.
But yeah, as I was saying, Luke Battersby, the captain for EKS All-Stars, set up a whole group chat yesterday, call, and said, right, everyone's going to get black flags at the start, so whatever you do when the yellow flags come out, just slow down, because everyone else will get the black flag. And what's he gone and done? He's got a black flag.
I like that. See, that's what powerful leadership takes, Yousuf.
Yes.
What you've got to do is run headfirst into battle, and if any, you've got to take the fall. Take the full feet.
Embodying the do as I say, not as I do.
Yes, yes, absolutely. Do as I say, not as I do. Fantastic stuff. So Borough 11 NFS lead the way now, and the gap is around 19 seconds to Nameless Motorsport. Then it's the Accelerate Kent Brewery Racing team. I will say that right at one point of the broadcast, I promise. Dab Motorsport running in 4th place ahead of EKS All-Stars, and then it's Team Rango with Red Mist. I say that like you can't all read the timing tower. The only way is Brentwood in 7th place. Sporting Club still leading in the rookie class as well, and they've very handily got the TRX Motorsport Elite team, and now Toby and the Bandits, between themselves and the early leaders, Ditchfinders, as, oh no.
We're back to square one.
I swear this is a wild.
You know, if everyone gets a black flag, no one's got a black flag, technically.
No.
As I get a bit of a voice crack as well. That's how excited I am.
That actually really hurt my ears.
Did it? I'll try it again later.
No.
Imagine that at 2 a.m. in the morning, though.
Our producer just leapt out of his chair. No, not at 2 in the morning. Please. Please. Yeah, we've got some fantastic stints of commentary for you today. I'm doing 2 till 7, and then I believe, is it Kieran taking over from 7? Kieran's taking over your spot from 5, because you've actually got to go and do some racing.
Yes.
And then Reeves in after. Yeah, I'm saying this as if you lot can all see me, and I'm nodding at them and also.
I mean, we do have a
we
camera.
do have a camera in the commentary box. James, can we say hello to everybody in the commentary box? Are we all going to dab? No, we're not going to dab. Hello, everyone.
We've got a guest in the background as well.
What we did there was do that really annoying thing where instead of looking at the camera like professionals would, we just looked up at the screen.
Oh, yeah.
It's like, oh, look, I'm on the big screen at the thing. At least they didn't do a kiss cam. That would have been really awkward. Anyway, Borough NFS have burrowed their way into the pit lane. No, please never say that again, Chaz. But it'd be interesting to see what the gap is now they come back out of the pits again. Because they got a black flag for a different reason. Do you know if there's different time penalties based on what they get the black flag for?
No, it's always 20 seconds stop go.
I'm going to remind you of that now that Borough are in front of everyone.
Well, look at.
They're in front of everybody. They've had a penalty as well and they've still come out in front.
Have they?
You know what I was saying before about...
no. So it's a black flag for safety. So I think they haven't had their helmet fastened or there's something.
Yeah. So they can just sort it and send them back out instead of a specific time hold. So they've still got the lead. It's just that they've had that lead eaten into by something like... Well, they don't have straps. They don't have seatbelts or anything. It will just be a helmet strap. But that takes a lot of keen eyes to notice in a race.
Well, I wonder what it was. Maybe it wasn't. Maybe there was a loose strap. Maybe there was an issue with the cart. Maybe they had a GoPro that wasn't fastened with a cable. So if there are any members from Borough 11 NFS in the chat, do let us know what you did.
Yes.
That caused that black flag. But we are now in a situation where Borough 11 are leading by just over 2 seconds, which means that we're going to have our group, our sextet or quintet now, catching back up and fighting for the lead once more.
Absolutely. And it's going to... I'm not going to repeat what it was called earlier on, what it was going to be called. Was it called an octet and then a nonette?
A nonad.
A nonad.
Yeah, nonad.
I'm refusing to believe that. It's just fantastic. But yes, it is going to get mighty busy at the front of the field here, and there is another black flag for safety, which is the TRX Motorsport Academy team. At the number 18 machine running in 27th place. We just saw the number 27 kart making its way back out. That was Bandito Delito, another brilliant team name to add to the list. I really enjoyed that. But look, you can just an example there. I was going on about a point earlier, wasn't I, that everybody expects these karts to be stuck like scale-electric machines to these circuits, and just wherever the front is pointing is where the kart is going. When you're on the power in some of these tighter corners, they are very oversteery. You have to control the way that the kart floats around the corner. You know, you may not be pointing in the exact direction that you're travelling, but if you manage that the right way, it's the quicker way to race the things, isn't it? But you saw it there with the number 8 as they went around turn 1. You've got to flick it in, and they were turning left most of the way around the first 2 corners, which is just great. And when it rains later on, we're going to see a lot more of that. It's going to be brilliant.
The rain is going to be absolutely fantastic, and when you go through some of the higher speed corners as well, you get that little bit of understeer with the front just dragging and bumping around. So you might actually see it if you keep an eye through. I think hairpin 1 tends to happen a lot. You might see the rear end of the kart judder, and the reason why it does that is because karts have a solid rear axle, so for that kart to go around a corner, the rear needs to lift. If it doesn't lift, the back end judders around, because that's the only way it can turn, and you can see that a little bit with those karts. If it judders, that means you're losing speed, so you ideally want to try to get around the corner with as little juddering as possible.
And that's the thing, because, you know, karts are so flat to the circuit, but the tyres are so small, you have to have as much of a contact patch as possible, you know, just get as much grip out of those tyres as you can. And I must admit as well, a little nerdy thing that I picked up on over the course of the day is that all the tyres have coloured tyre writing on them, which really pleases me, because I love a bit of tyre writing on a racing machine. I don't know what it is about it, it just looks a little bit more exciting. But another point to raise as well is how brilliant the karts look as well. They look so tidy, so clean, don't they, out there on circuit. The design, like I said before, complete, you know, full constructive criticism. It's not as flash or as bright as it was previously, but it doesn't have to be flash and bright. They just look really clean. I love the design, and especially when you're out there on the balcony and some of our higher placed cameras, you can see the big Buckmore branding down the left. It looked great. I really love that bit.
The thing that I really like about these karts compared to the previous karts is the previous Sodis at Buckmore Park, the seat was a little bit off-centre.
Yes.
So it's quite weird holding the steering wheel, and when you held it straight, it was pointing from a different direction from where you were going. So that was quite bizarre to me when I was driving it.
Or did they have RT9s?
Oh, I don't know.
I don't even know if the RT9 exists. I'm going to pretend like I know about cars.
Yeah, this might be the RT9.
We don't really do shout-outs, to be honest, but I want to shout out my stepdad, Lawrence, who's just texted me saying, yes, no NAD does exist.
Oh, okay.
Just confirmed it. Thank you, Lawrence. Much appreciated. I'm also borrowing his car for the weekend, so cheers, Lawrence. I've not written it off yet. We've got Borough NFS.
Being the key term.
I'm not going to repeat myself.
Borough NFS leading the way. We've got Nameless still in second place. That gap is coming down now, though, just under 1.3 seconds. We've passed an hour of the race already, Yousuf. Time certainly flies when you're having fun. The weather isn't changing by the look of it. It's not starting raining
don't
yet.
commentate curse this yet.
I'm trying. I'm trying. It will rain and they will enjoy it. It's going to be brilliant when it rains, though, because it's really going to throw the cat amongst the pigeons, especially as it's going to rain at night as well. Not only is racing in the dark difficult, yeah, sure, the circuit's floodlit, you know, it's going to look beautiful, but just the added sort of stress of not being able to see as well in wet conditions, it's just going to be nuts.
So I got one of the most picturesque shots on my GoPro that I've ever had when I was racing here earlier this year, as that's a bit feisty from some of our cars, but they all sort themselves out. So coming out of the double right-hander of turn 1, there were loads of leaves on the tarmac because it was November, so autumn, all of that. And when the carts would go through that, we'd get the leaves flying everywhere, and it was a beautiful shot and feeling just to drive through those leaves. As Senior Frogs, so the sidemen, not to be confused with the slidemen, have picked up a contact warning. I don't know if that's their first one. I think it might be.
Yeah, I don't think they've had much more before that. Thing is, we're going to have to start keeping tally at some point, just so we know. Well, I suppose we've just got to keep our eye on every third hour mark and just know when it's coming up and just think, ooh, is that a little bit close to the line there, Sunshine, before they push too hard. But
speaking of pushing, the number 8, Borough 11 NFS, has been caught by Nameless, who is being pushed along by the Dab Motorsport number 5 cart, followed by 4 more carts right behind him. So it is time for the battle for the lead to resume once more. Now, if you're Borough, you want to defend this because you know that this group of carts behind is quicker. So if they get through, they are going to gap you. You want to keep them behind for as long as possible.
The only real caveat to that is that, do they know they're there? That's one of the problems. You've just got to push. I suppose they'll know they're there now, considering that there was just a massive amount of contact up the hill. That's certainly a way to make them alert. And, a little move of the hand there by the driver of the Borough 11 NFS machine. As, more contact down the inside. I don't think they were quite expecting this many of them to come barging through. That's the EKS All-Stars machine down the inside, and they've been absolutely freight trained there. But that's one of the things, isn't it, here around this circuit, Yousuf? Once you're put offline slightly here at Buckmore Park, you've got to wait for a certain section of the circuit before you can cut back again and take advantage, or just try and recuperate a position.
Yeah, there's a few corners, namely those 2 hairpins, where if someone goes up your inside, a whole train can follow through as the EKS All-Stars to get their curb warning. That is their first, as there is EKS All-Stars trying to get through on the number 5, and Dab Motorsport going defensive heading through Ghana.
TRX Academy in there as well, a number 18 machine. They don't want to give that one up. They'll get lapped as a little bit close there with the Rango with Red Mist machine as they head up the hill. Got to be really careful not to sort of turn the other cart across the front of you, because when these things spin, when they rotate, because they've been such a tiny wheelbase and so close to the ground, they just turn completely on their own axis, don't they?
Yep. And I saw a little hand signal as well. So the number 5 was defending, had a look over his shoulder, and the number 10 pointed forward, said, look, I don't want to battle with you. I know that we want to catch up to the number 11 Nameless car, or Nameless Motorsport car. So don't worry about me. I'm just going to sit behind. You do your thing.
Yeah, there's a couple of carts just going a lap down at the moment, but that is absolutely fine. It's part of the game. At the end of the day, if you're in the rookie class, you've just got to think about the other teams around you in your class. You don't need to worry so much about being overtaken by any of the pro teams, let's say. Sorry, is my laptop on the way?
No, BN Racing, I was just keeping an eye on them. They have caught up to Sporting Club. They've actually got through on Ditch Finder, so we now have just a couple of seconds separating our top 3 in the club, not in the club, in the rookie category, as we see the number 11 Nameless car going up the inside of the 7 to put a lap on the Slideman. And the number 8 has now been overtaken by Tom Langford from Accelerate Kent Brewery. And there is the number 7 now with Dab Motorsport right behind them. Oh, sorry, with Nameless right behind them. And a contact warning for the Slideman as well. So the number 11 getting held up here by the number 7. That has allowed the number 5 of Dab Motorsport to close in. But how quickly can Dab Motorsport get through? They're trying to pull up alongside, heading up the hill into Cafe, and they are on the inside. So they will get through, and they'll be right on the back of the number 11 Nameless car.
Yeah, this is the thing. They just got a bit of contact into turn 1 there, turning in. That was, I believe it's actually Chris Bridle that's driving that thing for the Slidemen. Just trying to turn in and say, there you go, have one of them. He's actually been lapped by these guys now, and it's not often that you see Chris getting overtaken around Buckmore Park, I can tell you that for free. As there is
Is that Arav getting ready to get in? It is for Quadrant. He's got the old F1 Manager game branding on the lid. Needed to update that before it came here. But these teams all getting involved in the spirit of the race. There's so many fantastic shots coming from down in the pit lane as well. Everyone really enjoying themselves down there, ready to take over from other drivers. And that's the thing, isn't it? It's such a team effort, this. You know, there's, again, I'm going to use the phrase, I told you I'm going to say it, there's a lot of elements to this.
Yes.
And you all have to manage that so consistently with your team members as well.
All the elements. You've got fire, earth, wind, and water, right?
There's going to be a lot of water.
There will be in a bit. I hope there's a lot of water, but Quadrant will make their pit stop. They're currently down in P30. They did have to make that extra stop because they did a very early pit stop. Now they've only done an hour before making their next pit stop, so they're not doing the full 12 stints. I think they're looking to do... Hey! I don't think Ben can count. He said P1.
Technically said P2 because he held 2 number 1.
True.
Still can't
Either
count.
way, I was wrong.
Yeah, either way, Ben, you're wrong. We love you, Ben. I'm just going to go and get ready for an interview, Yousuf.
Okay,
I'll leave you all in the very capable hands of Yousuf for just a moment. I'll be back with you in a sec.
So, at the front of the field, it is still Nameless Motorsport, that 1/10 ahead of Dab Motorsport, as we see the number 4 of Tom Langford for Accelerate Kent Brewery, sending it up the inside of one of the back markers. And look how close it is between our top 3. The 11 pushing the 5 along, Dab Motorsport through and up to the front of the field. And then just behind is Luke Battersby for EKS All-Stars. And not too far back is Tom Langford for Accelerate Kent Brewery, as there is our Quadrant driver who has just finished their stint. They're looking a little bit sweaty as well. And he's actually split his seat insert. It was probably already split, let's be honest, but it's funnier to think that he split it himself. So I just wanted to keep an eye on where our leading 4 are, because I think we've got to the point where they've got bored of working together, and now they just want to absolutely go ham with one another. As there they are, heading into hairpin 1, your top 6, now with Burrow 11 NFS part of this train of karting. You can see the slightly different lines that they're taking through hairpin 2. Some of them going a little bit tighter into the corner, and others trying to take that slightly wider line, trying to prioritize their exit speed. But it is that Motorsport at the front of this train of karts as they head through Paddock Corner and then into Garnet, which is just out of our shot. And then they'll head up the hill into Cafe, and there is not much separating the top 2 as we have a track limit warning for TRX Motorsport Academy. I believe that is their second, unless it was the other TRX team that picked up that penalty. Through the opening double right-hander go our karts, and the number 12 Rango with Red Mist just that 6/10 away now from our quintet, as I believe Chaz Draycott is ready with an interview.
I'm absolutely hoping so. Anyway, we're hoping this mic is unmuted. I'm hoping that James is going to give me the nod that he can hear me, and they absolutely can. I'm here with Tom from Zesty Drink Racing. Tom, a very busy first hour in the race here. We've got the big screen on up here in the production room, so to speak. How are you enjoying the event so far?
I'm absolutely loving it. Same as last year. You know, it's one of those events where you turn up and the whole vibe of the event is just something that can't be beaten with any other event. And you know, for us, it's more so a social. Yeah, we're coming here to race, but we're having a social at the same time. We're spending time together as friends, and that's the beauty of these kind of events. So yeah, I'm absolutely loving it so far.
And it's great because there's not just your team in the event. You know, it's not just like 5 or 6 of you, for example. You know, there's so many people involved in every single team. I mean, we were mentioning before there's teams with 9 drivers involved. You know, so many people were on the grid earlier when I was walking around. It's hard to know who to speak to and when, but it's a great feeling that everyone's here for the same reason, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. And you know, I love being able to talk to the other teams as well. There's a lot of people around that we've raced with in other series like Club 100, and it's brilliant to speak to these people, and we share the same hobby. So yeah, exactly, it's
I was going to say, is it a case of you learn a lot from the other teams as well? Is there anything that I mean, every day's a school day in motorsport in any form, but do you feel like every time you come here you get a little bit more intel, a little bit more knowledge about the event?
Yeah, absolutely. There's always going to be drivers that are quicker than me, and
And me.
Well, I can't comment on that, but there's definitely a lot of drivers who are quicker than me here today. But it is really nice to be able to speak to those drivers and get tips off those. One of my favourite things, especially in Club 100, is if I come off track and there's someone who's lapped me, is approaching that person and getting them to point out where I was going wrong. I think that's the beauty of the sport, especially as it's a hobby for us.
And especially with everybody being in the same machinery as well, the Sodi RT10, you know, it's a kart and a circuit, especially that a lot of people here have got a lot of laps around, so everyone's sort of perfected it that little bit. It's just finding that extra 1 or 2%, isn't it, to just make such a difference around somewhere like this.
Yeah, 100%. And for myself and the majority of my team, we don't actually drive these karts all that often. In fact, I personally have only ever driven these karts twice. Once was last year, and once was this morning. So I'm used to the track. I drive Club 100 karts here whenever Club 100 come, but I very rarely drive these karts, and that's where that comes in.
I suppose it's a lot of fun to still learn it on the fly, I guess, but are there any sort of particular strategy elements of this that you're trying to look at for the day that you can give us away or give away to us, and hopefully not the teams watching?
Well, I'll keep the majority of it to myself, but of course the weather's playing a massive part at the moment. It's constantly changing, and it has been changing every time we've looked at the weather forecast, and we're trying to play to the strengths of our drivers. You know, we've got a couple of drivers who are a lot quicker in the dry compared to the wet, so we're trying to use this short dry spell now to really take advantage of that, but also later on in the race when it rains, we're going to try and play our cards to put the drivers in who can drive in the wet and put those out in the wettest conditions.
Well, thank you very much for joining me, Tom. It's fantastic to hear from you, and we hope the rest of the event goes well.
No, thank you very much, and it's been a pleasure to talk to you.
Did I breathe in enough? Did he say Club 100 enough? Good. Let's go back to Yousuf.
I found it very interesting to hear from Thomas about how to get quick, and I can confirm Thomas does get lapped a lot. Weirdly though, he's never asked me for any tips. I don't know what that's all about, Thomas. Right, I see. However, it's getting very close at the front of the field. Dow Motorsport half a second ahead of Nameless, but our top 5 separated by just under 2 seconds. So, yeah, our 5 cars, they are not going anywhere. They're sticking to each other, well, pretty much like glue, aren't they, Chaz?
They absolutely are, yeah. It's really, really close at the moment. Rango with Red Mist, despite having the fastest lap, haven't really gained back up on them again, but I think the traffic hasn't been that kind to them, because one of the interesting things is that we've got that sort of lead quintet now, then we've got the Rango team. The only way is Brentwood, a little bit of no man's land, but then there's another clump of drivers and teams as well. I mean, look at that on your screen right there. There's a few drivers sort of saying, what are you doing? Shaking their head.
It's a gaggle of carts, right?
A gaggle, yep. As the Spicy Boys driver there, just shaking his head a little bit, maybe not too pleased with some contact or a cart not getting out of the way. But again, they can't have eyes in the back of their heads. What I was trying to explain is that we've got actually 3 clumps of carts. I'm going to call it a clump, quite like it, because of how it appears on our timing screen anyway. But if they all come to lap each other at the same time, we're going to have 15, 16 carts on circuit all in the same space, and they're all going to be having a go at each other. It's just going to be a fantastic culmination of them all together, I think.
I want to give a quick shout out to BN Racing, because they've been clambering up the order. They're now 8th overall, leading in the rookie class, so they've got past the Sporting Club, and they've actually pulled now about 1.5 seconds clear, so they're doing an absolutely fantastic job. That is the 26 car. I'll tell you where they are on circuit, but I don't really know.
They're about 2/3 of the way around the lap, actually, just coming towards the final sector.
In fact, we might be seeing them in a second getting lapped.
Say they're about round, they're about round here somewhere. The numbers and the boards fly by so quickly. A contact warning for DAB Motorsport there, the current race leaders. So clearly, maybe overdoing it a little bit in traffic. Easy to do, like I've said. When you're just trying to navigate your way through some of the slower karts on the circuit, you can get a little bit overzealous and just overestimate the pace difference, I think. That's one of the key things, because as I've just mentioned to Tom there in the interview, let's not forget they're in the same machinery. Yeah, they're all in the same karts. You know, just because they're in the pro class or the rookie class doesn't mean necessarily they've got a turned down version of the car or different tyres or anything like that. It's just down to the pace of the drivers.
So one of the weird things when you're lapping someone as, oh no, Borough 11 NFS, I thought that was a penalty, it's just a contact warning. But when you are lapping karts, you've got no idea where you're quicker than them.
Yeah.
It could be a case that they're exactly on your pace through turn 1, or maybe a tenth or two slower, and then it could be a case in another corner they brake 5 meters earlier than you. So you could be behind them thinking, oh, I'm too far back to go for a move, but they brake really early, and then you have to go for a send. Contact might happen. And another time you might think, oh, I can go for this move. As 24 and 20, a little bit nip and tuck. This is the battle for 4th place in the rookie class.
That was 1322 Northeast, just having a bit of a send down the inside there on the number 20 machine. Signed, sealed and delivered. It was definitely signed, sealed and delivered by the other team on that occasion. That was mighty aggressive down the inside. Teams 15 and 19, Fat and Furious and the Spicy Boys. I wonder if those things go hand in hand right together on the circuit at the moment. And then they've got MPMC in there as well. But look at this, look how closely they can all follow each other. 8 of them in one big train through Garda. I love that shot as they go up through the hairpin. It's a very difficult corner, actually. I think from the outside, when you look at the TV cameras here and you see the carts head round there, you get no idea of how difficult that corner actually is, because you're hitting the brakes ish a little bit, maybe just sending it in, but you're going uphill to begin with, so the grip comes to you as the cart compresses that little bit, then you're turning it in, it may oversteer slightly, and then it floats over a crest, so then it oversteers more, and then it suddenly compresses again on the exit. You've got so many different moving parts to that one corner.
And don't forget, it's an adverse camber corner as well, which in the wet means you don't necessarily want to take the outside line, because that's where all the water's flowing to.
You end up in the ticket office.
So it's a really challenging corner. I absolutely love it. In the dry, you can get right up onto the curb. On the apex, take a really late apex and then carry the speed through that little dip, that compression that you mentioned, and then up into Cafe Corner. Once you come out of Ghana, it is completely flat all the way until, well, as you see our carts making their way into turn 1, and then even then sometimes you can get away with a little lift into the opening corner.
It's worth noting now as well, those of you that have stuck with us from the start, thank you for watching, everybody, by the way. We hope you're enjoying the show. Just keep an eye on the racing lines that these drivers are taking at this moment. They are taking what you would all consider the conventional racing line, you know, tight to the apex, let it run wide on the exit. When it rains, it's going to be a complete different kettle of fish. Round turn 1, you're pretty much all the way around the outside. Down here as well, they're going to be nowhere near that curb on the inside. They're going to swoop around the outside either way and use the wet racing line. It's usually a lot wider and smoother, isn't it? Not to tighten it up. You're going to correct me now, aren't you?
So, weirdly, yes, you would be right normally.
You gave me the look of, Chaz, come on, stop digging yourself in the hole.
To be fair, you're correct, right? Because you go on the paint, you go on the curbs, bit less grip.
Yes.
Weirdly in karting, you get some curbs which actually give you a bit of grip. And the reason for it is, if you can get your front tyre hooked on that curb,
on the inside of it,
it actually pulls you in. And sometimes, because of how the curb is, it's being quite bumpy, you actually can find a fair bit of grip on it, especially if it's not a freshly painted curb. So that's one of the corners where you kind of hit it straight on, so you're not doing too much turning at the curb itself. So because you get to open up the steering a little bit more, you can get away with taking it. And let's not forget as well, there are patches of new tarmac that are being placed down at Buckmore Park, which give you loads of grip. Down there into the Sime Suite, I believe it's called. I think, something like that.
We'll call it that from now.
Yeah, down into the Sime Suite, you have loads of grip. So you just full send it into the corner, and it just sticks because of that new tarmac that hasn't had loads of rubber put down on it yet.
Yeah, and there's a change in the tarmac as well up here at this part of the circuit, actually. There's a few patches here and there, just where in time it's just been updated. You know, it's a very abrasive part of the circuit. It's really been put through its paces by the karts over the years. So you do have the odd little bump here and there where the surface changes.
So you can see it there, that dark patch, that is the new bit of tarmac. That is beautiful.
Absolutely glorious. In the right conditions, anyway.
In the right conditions.
That's the thing. But sometimes you have to, I mean, when you know a circuit well enough, like I said earlier, so many of the teams here will have done so many laps around this place, there will be the odd little bump or a bit of seam in the concrete itself, or the tarmac, as we should rightly call it, where you'll just know that if you just touch that little bit of the track or this tiny little bump here and there, you almost develop muscle memory, don't you?
Yeah.
Of how to sort of slightly correct the steering a little bit, where to maybe take the pressure off, and just having those key details can save you the thousandths of a second that we saw separating qualifying.
Yeah. Speaking of those little details you put into the steering wheel, I was at home the other day and I thought, let me just, you know how some drivers say that they visualize themselves driving? So I got an old steering wheel as, I can't tell which team that is, getting ready for. Now that, wearing a wetsuit, that is some jinxing going on there. We need to get him off the premises immediately.
I mean, he's just had somebody else put his gloves on for him. I wish I had friends that were that kind to me. See, you look disgusted by that.
I am very disgusted by that.
I was really impressed by it.
I don't think I've had gloves put on my hand since I was about 6 years old doing owner karting.
I'm glad you finished that sentence. Nameless leading the way by 0.3 of a second from Dab Motorsport and Accelerate Kent Brewery Racing at the minute. They are our current podium positions. BN Racing leading the rookie class ahead of the Sporting Club. They've got about 1.6 seconds over them, and then Ditchfinders are right behind in the clump in there as well. That was the number 30 Quadrant machine just on your screen a second ago. They've just done their best lap of the race, actually, 50.993 at this present moment, so they're improving the pace. They've actually done a better best lap than the teams ahead of them as well, which are all in the 51s and the 52s, so they are on the move at least for this moment in time.
So we'll see whether they can start to rein in slick and tired. Who we did say were feeling a bit tired earlier. They have made their pit stop and had a driver change completed, but we're getting to a very feisty part of the race, Chaz, because we are now over 1.5 hours into the race. This is the point where, 1.5 hours. I'd work out what fraction that is of the whole race, but I think that's too early. So, this is the point where...
I reiterate, this man is a teacher.
Just trying to rub that one in. So, this is going to be the point now where I think our top teams, if any of them, try to desync.
Yes.
Hitting that 15-20 minutes earlier, we're getting to that stage. So I'm interested to see if any of them are going to go for it, because we may even be in the situation where some of them are going to be like, you know what, we can go over 2 hours, we can do 2 hours 10, and then we're going to see the brilliant scene of a kart stopped on circuit because it's run out of petrol.
Yeah, that's the thing. There's a lot more risk taking it one way to elongating the stint than just cutting it fine. Like you said before, very rightly, you can't see the fuel level, you can't feel the fuel level in these things. You've got nobody on the radio telling you what it's going to be because they don't know either. If you've got literally the fuel tank between your legs, you won't know how much fuel is left.
And it's covered as well. It's between your legs and it's covered. You get some carts where it's uncovered, and then you can kind of see the fuel line,
but it moves
but
around
it's really difficult.
Spit of rain.
We've just had a word from our director. That's why we stopped so suddenly.
Yes.
There is apparently a spit of rain outside. So just one spit. I don't know where on the circuit it was, but it's not made a huge difference at the moment. But it's, you know, one drop has fallen. So naturally everybody on the A2 has just crawled to 30 mile an hour, and all the carts are going to do the same in a few minutes.
That, or there's someone standing next to the camera just spitting occasionally in front of the camera to give a few droplets.
I'd rather they didn't.
Yeah.
I'd rather they didn't. I'm sure James would rather they didn't. Not all over.
You'll have to give it a little clean later.
He was here for 48 hours yesterday setting up, was James, bless him.
48 hours yesterday?
48 hours in a day.
This is where my teaching thing is going to come in. I think there's only 24 hours in a day, Chaz.
Is there?
Yeah.
Well, what you're supposed to do is work as if there isn't.
Ah, I see.
Oh, there you go. Look at that. British
That looks terrible.
That's British.
Can we add some like contrast to the screen so it looks, you know, nicer?
Not great.
Yeah.
We need paint for that, let alone contrast. But that is British summertime, everybody. It's absolutely glorious. To be fair, it's a good thing most of the circuit is painted blue, isn't it? Or at least the barriers are blue, because that's about the only blue we're going to see. There's a cart off down there.
Yep.
I point at the screen as if you can all see me pointing.
There was something really funny that happened in driver's briefing today.
Oh no.
So,
it was Clinton doing the briefing.
Clinton was doing the briefing, right? And we were going over flags, and he asked, is anyone here colourblind? And someone responded with yes. And then there was about 5 minutes where we were going over the colours of flags trying to work out if this guy could see the difference between them.
Light grey flag means slow down. Dark grey flag means the race is
exactly. It essentially came down to, I think Clint said, well, you can't see the colours, so you just have to look at the lights, how quickly they're flashing, which is a cool fact.
They flash at different speeds.
They flash at different speeds. So green is a very steady blink.
I didn't know
Yellow
that.
is much faster. I know, it was quite cool.
That's really cool. That's really cool. I apologise for that joke, by the way, to the aforementioned colourblind driver. That was just a bit insensitive of me. But either way, it's part of the game, I'm afraid. We've got still this lead battle going on. Oh, track limit warning coming in. The slide men, ironically, getting a track limit warning there. They're down in 21st position at the moment. Kart number 7 having a track limits warning. So track limits are when they extend the edge of the circuit outside the white lines, all four wheels, really trying to gain an advantage from it.
So I've just been given confirmation that the flags, or the digi flags, when they flash at different speeds, that is only if there is a colourblind driver. Otherwise they will be on steady, which is a really cool touch, I think.
That is that is all-inclusive accommodating for drivers, and I love that. I love that. Phil looks very proud of himself, and I really like that. He's got a great big smile on his face. That's what we want. That's why we're here, everybody, to put smiles on faces here at Buckmore Park for the 2024 24 hours. And we have somehow already gone nearly 90 minutes into this race.
Yeah.
The time does fly on you. I'm going to say it a lot. Again, I'm going to say it a lot, like the word elements. But
which means that we have to say it at night, otherwise everyone will think we're not having fun.
I'll tell you at 2 a.m.
Yeah.
when I start another 5-hour stint whether I'm having fun or not.
You mean at 6 a.m. then, at the end of your stint?
Yes. Well, I think it was Kieran earlier has offered to join me for an extra hour towards the end of my stints, just so he gets to see me in an absolute state. Because, like I said, officially I'm on 8 hours sleep today.
Yep.
Like a good boy.
Make sure you subscribe to Alpha Live, because we will be posting shorts of Chaz Draycott sleeping on the comms.
I will not be sleeping at all. I've said that now. Now I've done myself enough.
Yeah.
So, we now are 90 minutes in, technically halfway through that first penalty time stint for drivers to think about how quickly they rack up the penalties. That was the number 8 machine.
Yes. And that's definitely a new driver in the kart. So that is number 8 desyncing from everyone else. So Burrow 11 NFS dropping down to P15 as a result. And we'll wait and see if any of our other top 4 want to pit, because the top 4 have pulled away from 5th place. Rango with Red Mist have dropped about 4 seconds back from our leading 4 set of carts.
Yeah, it's confusing us slightly that the Burrow 11 NFS team is number 8
Yes.
instead of being number 11, which doesn't make it roll
Or
off
in
the tongue.
P11.
Yeah, or P8. It's it doesn't roll off the tongue very well at the moment. BN Racing have the lead in the rookie class now over Ditch Finders. So Ditch Finders have sort of rattled around the top positions in that class since the very beginning, haven't they? But unfortunately, they've just lost that lead a few moments ago. Since more drivers down there in the pit lane. Oh, he's got something on his jacket. I hope he cleans that off.
I think as well for Ditch Finders, they've started to catch up to BN Racing. So I think they were about 1.5 seconds behind. That gap has dropped back down to about a second there or thereabouts. So we'll see if they can actually close in onto BN Racing and we can get a battle for the rookie class lead.
They've got also Toby and the Bandits in kart number 3, not too far back as well. Toby and his favourite band of bandits on his way. Then there's quite a gap back of about 10 seconds actually to Team ARD, with 1322 Racing Northeast, Spicy Boys, Formula Non, which is the team we've not actually mentioned on the broadcast yet. I did interview some of them earlier on, I think they tried to anyway. Then Fat and Furious. Spicy Boys have just got ahead of the 1322 Racing Northeast squad. I'm still amazed by the fact that we have that sort of extra 1% of pace at the front of the pack here, Yousuf, and we've still got 4 of them separated by less than a second leading this race after 90 minutes.
It's just crazy how consistent they are. If you put them all on different parts of the track, they'd probably separate by a tiny bit, but once you have drivers who are this quick and this consistent, close to each other, they just all bunch together and then they stick together for, well, however long you'd like, until someone makes a really bad mistake or until all 6 of them get black flags.
Again.
Yeah.
But you're absolutely right though. There may be certain parts of the circuit where teams have a little tiny advantage over others, where certain drivers maybe have just figured out a corner that tiny bit better. You know, they've learned the intricacies of a certain curve, where to hook the wheel, you know, a little bump here and there. But when you put them all together and they're all reacting to each other's driving and following in one train, that's what keeps them all so close together. And I mentioned earlier Slipstream, you know, rightly so, saying that it's not a massive factor around here, you know, there's not as many long straights, but there are still higher speed sections of the circuit where you will feel a tiny gain from it, isn't there? So it's worth making use of it.
And you've got that really long flat out section, can't really call it a straight, coming out of Ghana all the way towards turn 1.
Yeah.
You can get a slipstream. Sure, it's not going to be 3-4 tenths a lap, but you might get towards about a tenth a lap. And we're talking about drivers who are putting in lap times that are within a tenth every single lap. That 1/10 does make a difference, and you can be the driver getting slipstream, or you can be the driver getting pushed along and you know, just gain that little bit of extra time. And again, those top 4 separated by just under a second, still working together. We've had a change up at the front. Dab Motorsport past Nameless, so here's the number 5 car who leads from the number 11 now.
Dab Motorsport actually not long ago setting their new fastest lap of the race, lap 103, They are the only team since lap 100 to set their best lap of the race, actually. We're on lap 113 now here at Buckmore Park. The Quadrant team still in 30th position at the moment, but lapping pretty consistently. Their best is a 50.9. They're just in the 52s and sort of high 51s at the moment. The Senior Frogs team, they're a little bit in no man's land of their own, actually. 13 seconds off the back of the car in front, and then they've got 5 seconds behind two, ironically, the slide men actually chasing them down. But again, there's a few teams here that have fallen into a bit of a no man's land, but again, that doesn't have to be necessarily a bad thing, because you just get on with your own stint, get on with your own race, and just crack on, because you've got no distractions, or hopefully not anyway. I mean, there's traffic everywhere at this moment. It's hard to know whether we're often looking at a battle for the lead or whether we're looking at a battle for 23rd position. This is the car in second place, car number 11, a lovely little cutback actually down the hill. That's all about knowing the intricacies of the circuit, as Dab Motorsport tried to open up a bit of a gap there using the traffic.
And for anyone joining us, all of the blue plate carts with the white numbers, as those are spots of rain. And I'm pretty sure they haven't poured some water onto their helmets, so we are definitely getting spots of rain out on circuit. Now, this will not be enough to make the circuit wet, it'll not be enough to make the lap times get any slower, but it'll be enough just to give the drivers a bit of concern, because once you start to see those few droplets, you do get nervous as a driver, and as a result, you just keep pushing, or you should try to keep pushing, but eventually you'll get to that point where the grip will just stop, you'll have a slide, and then you get really nervous. And the really important thing to do when you are in these changeable conditions is you've got to keep the heat in your tyres. It's not like F1, but if your heat drops out of these karting tyres, when the rain comes down, you're nowhere. If you keep the heat in your tyres, you can go about 2-3 seconds a lap quicker, even though you're in the exact same conditions as someone else, even if that driver is of equal talent to you. If you keep the heat in your tyres, you'll go faster. If you catch up to a back marker under a yellow flag and you've got to go slowly behind them for a couple of corners, you lose all of the heat and then you're screwed.
Yeah, absolutely. For lack of a better phrase.
Yes.
I'd like to reiterate, I pointed out earlier that there was a driver getting a glove. That's weird timing. James, no, you did not. This is why me and James need to work together more often. I was reiterating the point earlier that there was somebody putting their gloves on for them, and I said I wish I had friends that kind to me. I've actually just received a message saying you do have friends that kind to you. We're watching the stream.
Oh,
so,
okay.
Sorry, Jason Coral.
You're in a bit of trouble now, aren't you?
I'm in a lot of trouble now, yeah. Luckily, I've got a full day before I've got to drive home, so they won't kill me. Not yet, anyway. Probably there'll be a sort of... What's the reverse of a guard of honour?
I got a message from James and Coral. Who are they?
James?
No, James is right there.
Oh, James is it?
Yeah.
Wait, I'm so confused. What's my name?
No idea. Chris, right?
Yes! Yeah. Chris McCarthy. Right, let's do this. We love Chris as well. We're not going to get Chris cancelled. He's got a better career than me. Dab Motorsport leading the way with still no gap whatsoever.
No.
Dab Motorsport, you see. Why do we look at the screen when, like...
Huh?
Why do we look at the screen rather than look at the camera?
I think it's just human nature.
Is it?
Yeah, because, you know, we're very conceited as commentators. We want to see what we look like as well. Yes, that's a very...
funny, isn't it? Look at it.
Very hard-working co-commentator preparing
you're
for...
on the stream, are you?
Yeah.
He's doing work. That's boring.
Work.
Flipping heck. Who invited you?
Are you paid or something to do work?
Oh, driver's running.
Oh.
Can't remember the last time I ran. Sorry, I will take this seriously at some point.
I'm pretty sure it's coming up from the pit lane.
I told you I ran. I just walked.
Oh, okay.
Oh, Tyler. Oh, okay. Reeves actually, he's doing good work.
Map.
Yeah, he's got a track
Oh,
map.
is it called the Sign Sweep then?
Yeah.
Yes!
Oh,
I remember
you
that!
said it right. I'm very proud of you. I'm very proud of you. Imagine coming to a circuit and knowing the corner names.
Well,
imagine having a good time.
To be fair, some tracks don't have any corner names, karting circuits at least. And they have like really boring ones like turn 1 and
and turn 2.
And turn 2. Last corner.
Yeah, oh god, no. Yeah, it's a fine art is naming corners and having your voice break mid-sentence.
Yeah,
we've both
I've had that a lot.
Yeah.
You should hear some of my voice breaks from about 5 years ago. They were absolutely awful.
I could provide you with some more as the stream goes on, everybody. But yeah, there is a fine art to naming corners. Often it's motorsport figures or it's legends of the sport, and certain manufacturers, for example, other times they'll have a really strange name. Like, I'm probably going to leave this one until after dark, but there is a fantastic story behind why the corner at Alton Park is called Knickerbrook.
I was going to bring this one up, yeah.
You looked at me like you knew what I was going to say already. There's a fantastic story behind Knickerbrook at Alton Park. We're not going to broadcast
I think that's a 1 a.m. story, to be honest.
Oh, it is, yeah. It is, absolutely. There's a fantastic gaggle of carts there. Is that our lead group still? Or is that a bit further down? I think that is actually 11th down. Is it the number 1 machine of Team Ard in there? Well, they're in the middle of it. Or are they?
Well, this is going to be spicy, isn't it? And the top 4 have kind of broken up into 2 separate groups. So you've got Dab Motorsport, Nameless. That half a second almost ahead of Accelerate, Kent Brewery and EKS All-Stars, as there goes to number 5 up the inside of the 17 through hairpin 2.
Great stuff at the moment. Really feisty stuff. And this is the thing, even the drivers that are a lap down as well, they have to just try and stand their ground, because half the time you might not know who's trying to come past as well. That's the thing, until they've got in front of you, you're not going to know what number board it is on the car. As the number 11 machine runs wide through the right-hander.
That's really costly.
Nearly 3 wide there as well. There's your team down the inside, EKS All-Stars, getting past Accelerate, Kent Brewery. I need to remember that every single time. But yeah, very, very entertaining stuff from all of these drivers so far. And, you know, there have been a few contact warnings here and there, a few track limits warnings, but it's been pretty clean relatively. From what we've seen on screen anyway, the racing's been really clean.
I think Dab Motorsport might be able to check out now. Look at the gap that they have. They're making their way up the inside of the track limit warning for Nameless Motorsport. But Dab Motorsport are clear. They've pulled. And you have Nameless and EKS All-Stars stuck behind a couple of the back markers now, and I think Dab Motorsport, they can just get their head down and pull away.
Yeah, and that's what they needed. You know, that's what one of the teams needed. We were saying this earlier on, weren't we, that even though they were at the front of the pack and they were thinking, right, we need to just push like mad and go as quickly as we can, they just couldn't break away. They didn't have that chance. They had to use the lapped traffic for it, and
that's endurance racing.
That's how it's worked out, basically.
When you've got carts that are so close together, that one opportunity that's taken pretty much 2 hours to come around is so critical. And when that opportunity comes, you have to jump on it. You cannot let it slide by.
No, absolutely. You have to just take each moment as it comes. You know, when we were talking to the teams at the beginning of the race, there were so many of them that were just saying, look, it's a 24-hour race. We've just got to take each stint as it is. You know, you've got to just manage what you get given. Play the cards that you dealt. That's the phrase that he said, and that's what a lot of these teams are doing. I'm going to just nip off again, and I'm going to have another interview lined up for you in a moment, everybody, so I'll see you in a sec.
Well, while Chaz gets himself a driver, or potentially a team manager, Dab Motorsport have now extended their lead to over a second from Nameless, who are closely pursued by EKS All-Stars and Accelerate Kent Brewery, but just as that gap has extended, it could also diminish very quickly if Dab Motorsport catch another group of back markers at just the wrong time. Don't forget, we're getting closer and closer to that pit window as well, as I think Chaz is ready with our interviewee.
Beautiful stuff. I'm here with Cal from Senor Frogs. Cal, how's the race going for you guys at the moment? It seemed like everyone was having a good vibe down on the grid, but it's got serious now, hasn't it?
Yeah, do you know what? I don't know what it is, and we just get unlucky with the start of these races, man. Chris had an absolute shocker off the bat. Let's be honest, I don't know what happened down in S3, but it was a disaster. So yeah, that was fine, but since then, since like the first 5 laps, we managed to mentally block those out. And he's been putting in some really good numbers and really just keeping us in it with this sort of like 5 rookie teams just above us, and he's been keeping pace with them. So yeah, really good result from him. And it looks like, actually, is he coming in? Or is he apologising? Okay, good, because I was going to say we don't have a driver ready, so that would have been a disaster.
I was going to say, there's a few moments in an endurance race like that where you really have to sort of panic and think what's going to be the plan here. Obviously, you guys in the rookie class, nothing wrong with that, but obviously you have to think about what carts are around you, who's in the other class. Is there anything on the circuit you can really do to sort of prepare who to let through and who not? Because as I've been drilling at home, you can't see behind you in these things.
Yeah, do you know what? Sometimes someone will ask on the radio, like, is it worth fighting this person to stop them going ahead? But really, in a 24-hour race, most of it just isn't worth it. So a lot of the time, it's just, you know, let them through for the most part. But yeah, honestly, Chris has done really well.
Well, you've got the rain to come yet as well. Are there any drivers in the team that are excited for that or more scared?
Nah, we've been putting in the wet practice. That's what really taught us a lesson last year. We weren't expecting it. So this year, a few of the boys have done some extra laps in the wet. Thank you to the British weather for that, because they allowed us to prepare for today. And it is starting to spin it down a little bit. And we do have one driver suited and booted, because we are coming up close to that 2-hour mark, which that's going to be the next concern for us, really, is just making sure we don't get stuck in the traffic, because around the 2-hour mark's when everyone's going to come in and make the first driver change. So we're just making a decision: do we want to go earlier, or do we want to see if we can push them out to maybe like 2 hours 10?
I was going to say, because there's specific service times for set parts of the race, but do you try and plan the stops and other elements of the race around? I've said the word elements again. Do you try and plan that around those service stops, or is it just, again, playing the cards that you dealt, like I've just said before?
Yeah, honestly, just seeing how it goes, seeing how the driver's getting on as well, that can also be a big factor. And to be honest with you, the weather makes the biggest difference for us. It's going to start raining. We might be able to push the car to maybe like 2.5 hours, and maybe even close to 3, but it just depends. How down bad are we? How much do we need? But to be fair, look, one of our biggest competitors were Quadrant, and I think they can look in there 9 laps behind. I think they can just head home at this point as well.
Well, they were saying actually at the start of the race that the team they were looking to fight with was you guys, so there's a bit of a rivalry going on, but it's all for entertainment, isn't it?
Yeah. No, look, hey, more people here, the merrier. But yeah, I mean, 9 laps behind, it's a bit of a ladder to climb, but it's not to say it's not possible. When the rain starts coming down, I mean, I remember we had a particular driver last year who I think spun a record 13 times. So really,
name drop.
I can't. He's just fresh out of hospital. It would only put him back in there. So yeah, he is not with us today. I mean, he's alive, but
Christ alive,
he's just not here today. He's sorting himself out.
I was going to say put the shovel down at some point, Sunshine, but Cal, thank you very much for joining us, mate. It's been very entertaining. Best of luck for the rest of the race. Any final words before you go?
No. Ethan, if you're watching, I hope you're feeling better.
He did name drop him in the end. Thanks very much, Cal. Great entertainment as always. We'll head back to Yousuf.
Well, I think Cal or Senior Frog really hopping with enthusiasm. Please forgive me for the puns. But having a look, we have started to see a little bit of a spread in the field. Dan Motorsport a second ahead of Nameless, who have really dropped EKS All-Stars and Accelerate Kent Brewery. So now none of our top 4 are particularly close to one another. We've got at least a second gap between all of those leading 4 cars.
What he said. I've still got tears. That was absolutely fantastic.
That was brilliant.
Cal.
Poor Ethan.
I know, poor Ethan. We do hope you're alright, Ethan, and we hope if you are watching, you're enjoying the show.
And not back in the hospital now.
No. There's the Senior Frogs kart just a moment ago. There's number 13 machine. The only way is Brentwood heading out of the pit lane now. Look at that. Clear part of the circuit. Would you believe it? Would you believe it?
That has to be a still shot.
Yeah, it's just B-roll that. James has got lazy. B-roll. No, he didn't hear me say that. But so
I think he's just ignoring you at this
that's
point.
one of the best things about being able to see your own producer during the stream. Actually, is you can see a live reaction from him if you say anything silly or anything directed towards him as well. Great fun. There is number 29 car flinging it around turn 1. That is, of course, the Senior Frogs machine. 16th place for them at the moment, 22 seconds off the MPMC car ahead, so still a bit of a mountain to climb of their own to catch up to their closest rival anyway. Looking at the kart behind them as well, the Slidemen are actually still catching 1.9 seconds behind them at the moment in kart 7. They're in different classes, so it doesn't make too much of a difference if there is an overtake there. However, not only do we have to think about rookie class karts going up to pro at certain points of the race, but we could also see pro class karts get put into the rookie class, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes.
The classification goes both ways, doesn't it?
Yeah, I think so. I'm not 100% sure. I know definitely the rookie karts can go up into the pro class. I don't know if pro karts can go into the rookie karts. But I definitely want to watch this battle between Senior Frogs and the Slidemen. Will we see an overtake, a slide up the inside, or will they go side by side? I don't know. It might even be an overtake done through the the pit stop phase of this race. Nameless still about 1 second behind Dan Motorsport, just hovering around that 1 second mark. But I think now that they've pulled outside of this train, this slipstream train, EKS All-Stars, Accelerate Kent Brewery, I don't think they quite have the pace to match our leading two. So the gap is now about 3 and a bit seconds, 3.5 seconds between second and third places. There we can see the 11 kart, the Nameless kart, trying to make its way through the field, having just passed the 14, which is Zesty Drink Racing.
Yeah, Zesty Drink Racing, who we spoke to a little bit earlier on. Currently running in 20th place at this moment in time, but again, we've got a bit more of a steady spread of the karts at this moment. I think this is getting to the point of the race where they're going to start to get into a rhythm now, aren't they? At the end of the day, endurance racing is like that. They're not going to be constantly doing that first hour on repeat again and again and again. You know, they're just going to be going for it as they can. You've just got to manage your own race at this point. You know who you're racing by now. You know, it's established, isn't it? I think that's the word for it.
And once it is established and you know the drivers you're battling with, you as a driver and as a team have a better idea of how the race is going to unfold. You know who you need to battle with, you know who you need to defend against. You had that conversation, and I think it was very well put that in an endurance race, pretty much most of the time you don't battle, because you're only going to cost yourself time. Even if you stop that one kart from getting through, you're losing a huge bunch of time to, well, all of your other rivals out on circuit.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, you've got to think bigger picture. For every kart that you have a battle with, if you lose a second a lap for a couple of laps, you can often see a gap of a few seconds come the end of the race, you know, and then all you'll do is think back to, I wish I hadn't battled with that car at the early stages. I'm delighted to tell everybody there may be another opportunity for an interview in just a second, so I'm going to hop off in just a moment and we'll see what we can find out. But we're just going to get past, let's just say the 2 hours. Can you believe 2 hours already? Nearly done. That's
absolutely flown by, hasn't it?
I like the in-sync, absolutely. But yes, I'll hop off quickly, see whether we can have an interview. I'll be right back.
Right. Was that a Senior Frogs reference? Hop off.
Funnily enough, it wasn't. But
no.
It
Those
is now.
are the best ones, isn't it? So, with that being said, there we can see a few of our karts making their way up to Cafe Curb. In the dry, completely flat. In the wet, a little bit of a lift and a little bit sideways as well. So we can see the 14 and the 3, and that is the 14 of Zesty Drink Racing, trying to get through on Toby and the Bandits, or potentially Toby and the Bandits just getting through on Zesty Drink Racing. It is currently Zesty Drink who are ahead of the Bandit squad, whether it's Toby or one of the Bandits in the car. And there goes the number 12 up the inside, heading into the S's, which is Rango with Red Mist. They are currently 3 seconds behind Accelerate Kent Brewery, but I think they are starting to close in because that gap was not so big. EKS All-Stars also being reeled in by Accelerate Kent Brewery as well. So we might start to see a battle for third. Similarly, Nameless only half a second behind Dab Motorsport. So a couple of battles at the front starting to simmer. Expect the top two, though, to be working together, because if they battle too hard, you can be absolutely certain that the number 10 and number 4 will be closing in. So expect them to work together, which might provide a really good opportunity for Nameless to take the lead. But with that being said, Chaz is ready with another interview.
Absolutely, I'm joined by Matt, team principal of Quadrant. Bit of a retaliation interview. He was told to come down here after he knew that Senior Frogs were talking about him. How's the race going, other than being 10 laps down, Matt?
Yeah, it's a bit eventful. We having to be really strategic with this. So we've got a whole mixture of different people who've got no experience in karting before, and then obviously people who are still current racing drivers at the moment. And so that's where we're really playing into our strategy. So yeah, Senior Frogs, yeah, they're right in saying we're currently I think 10 laps down now. But that strategy is putting the ones who are rookies out at front first, losing as limited time as possible. But then in about 20 minutes or so, we're going to have torrential thunderstorms coming down. It's going to be really heavy, and that's when we get our pros in. Now, Senior Frogs, they said previously they've done some wet weather training. You can't really train for an outdoor circuit like this, and they haven't done that much, to be honest. And so we've got guys who are competent in doing that. You've got Steve, who's obviously been racing here for years, got Max Future. I mean, at the moment, you can see on the screen at the moment, this is Arif. He's driving his heart out at the moment, so the previous two guys we had out only could do 30-minute stints. That's the reason why we're kind of so far behind at the moment. But it's all part of the strategy. We don't want to just pick and choose certain drivers. We want as a big collective together.
And that's what it's about, you know. It's a great team effort, isn't it, this event, you know. And there's so many people here enjoying themselves, but when you come together as a squad like this, it's a very rewarding process, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly that. I mean, like, we've got all the team here together, and like we just want everyone to have their own chance at sort of doing something good. Now, the main reason why we're here, Lando gave us a challenge of just beating Senior Frogs. We're not going for podiums here. We're not trying to get any silverware or anything like that. Our own objective is just to beat Senior Frogs. At the moment, doesn't look likely, but you know, we could come from the back and something could amazingly happen. I mean, like, there's so many things could go wrong. You could have them spinning in the wet. You could find out that actually one of their drivers is underweight. There's a load of things that could happen.
That sounds like a bit of planned sabotage, if anything, but I'm not going to dig too hard into that. Okay. But either way, you know, you've got a great list of drivers, like you say, and rightly so. You know, Steve, I mean, he was here 5 years ago when I did the 2019 Buckmore Park 24 hours, and there's so many drivers that have so many laps around this place. I suppose that's one of the benefits of it being a karting event, is that it's easier to do more laps here than, you know, go to the Nürburgring, for example.
Exactly that, and that's why, like, you know, Quadrant, they've done so much work with Buckmore recently. I mean, as you can see, we're in the background here. Like, we just love everything that Buckmore are doing, making it so open and accessible. So unlike Senior Frogs, where it's just like 5 members, we've got a mixture of good drivers and maybe ones who need a bit more experience. But that's why we always come to Buckmore for these opportunities.
So what you're saying is they only care about themselves.
Senior Frogs, absolutely. Why else? If they didn't, they wouldn't be filming a YouTube video. That's a joke. That is a joke. I'm joking.
We're both going to get in trouble here. Yeah. We are both going to get in trouble.
But still, it's great to have the team down here, and obviously we thank you for the support of the event as well, mate. It's really, really good to see it, and we hope the race continues to improve for you, and maybe the wet weather will bring some luck.
Yeah, please, let's hope it rains. We need it. All the help we can get.
Matt from Quadrant, everybody, thank you very much, mate.
Oh, that was a very, very fun interview. I'm not gonna lie, I think all I heard there was just excuses. So we'll see how the race goes. But then again, he's not called GT. He is called Super GT for a reason. So who knows what Quadrant have in store come the latter portions of this race.
You never know. You never know with Steve. Like I say, he's been doing this for a long time now, and I mean, he's having a fantastic year already, racing in the BMW M4 GT4. At the Nürburgring very often. There's Harry Graham. I got a good glimpse of Harry in qualifying earlier on, actually. He was pretty pleased with his performance when he came into the pits by the look of it. He was one of the drivers that sort of got out and he was, you know, really pumped up and really on the ball. So it's great to see that the drivers are really embodying that. You know, they're all enjoying themselves, and that's why we're here. You know, it's going to be something that we continue to highlight all the way through. This is a fantastically entertaining event for everyone involved. I mean, out on the balcony and out down at the cafe corner on the inside, you know, there's a great terrace where you can see everything. There's so many people still down there, even though the weather is not warm. It's far from warm, but it's just a great atmosphere, absolutely great atmosphere, and we're trying to enjoy ourselves as best we can up here in the commentary box, and I think we're doing quite a good job. I'm enjoying it.
Yeah, I'm enjoying it, and it's not too cold inside the commentary box.
Oh no, I'm sweating. Like, it's warm in here.
Oh,
yeah,
okay,
it's warm. So, you know, sympathy for those that are outside, but anyway. Still, every time I look at the top, there's no gap. I keep looking down the time.
Between the top two, it did go up to just over a second, but Nameless have reeled them in. EKS All-Stars, Accelerate Care Brewery have dropped down the order, so that's just been getting bigger and bigger. The gap, it was about 4 seconds about 5 minutes ago. It's now 6 seconds, but I think we're just going to see those top two working together, just pulling away from everyone else.
There's a lot of drivers and teams out here with overalls on, with a lot of sort of waterproofs ready for the challenge in the rain. They definitely know that it's going to be coming down soon. I can't see too much rain out the window. It looks like it is maybe spitting a tiny bit, just a tiny bit.
Now, I'm trying to think, do I put a wetsuit on for when I go out? Because I know some people in the chat have been mentioning that they can't wait to see me coming back absolutely soaked.
Oh, we'll do an interview with you when you get back.
Okay, right. If I'm dripping wet? Either way.
Even if not.
Yeah, okay. Cool.